we see in investment. If that continues to be the case, not to mention that the dollars today is different than the dollars 10 years ago or 5 years ago, it doesn't build the same because of inflation and all of that. So if that continues, the world relying on a limited spare capacity, most of it is in the kingdom today. That spare capacity will erode over time, and if we erode that spare capacity and we don't continue to invest, at least to offset decline, you will get into a supply crunch. And that's what will happen because you are eroding your spare capacity over time because of lack of investment. And that's where we definitely need more investment in the sector to maintain the growth that will be required based on all analysts today, including the IEA based too. By the way, there is always also adjustment that happens. You know, always people talk about the growth and is there a growth? And yes, there is a robust demand in 25, in 26, but you know, there is always an adjustment that happened after the fact. Last year, the adjustment was close to 400,000 barrels upward. So there is a growth and will continue to be growth through 2050 and beyond.
Mike, can you invest though with prices at this level, staying in the 60s, at least on Brent, and below 60 on WTI?
Yeah, we don't invest based on the price we see out the window. We invest based on what we see down the road. And I think to Amin's comments, we look at supply, demand, technology, policy, population, and the fundamental truth is the world will need more energy in the future than it uses today. For 20 years, there's been a concerted effort to diversify the system, and yet the dependence on fossil fuels remains at 80%, largely unchanged from where it was 20 years ago, against a much larger total demand, driven by the emerging middle class in developing economies around the world, and now turbocharged by the demand that's introduced by AI. And you know, it's very interesting to hear the comments about the kingdom's aspirations when it comes to AI. They mirror the United States aspirations, and there's a saying you hear a lot now that, you know, data is the new oil. I think those that have the old oil and the new oil are going to be very well positioned, and I think the kingdom is one of those places. I think the United States is another, but that all requires more energy, and it's our responsibility in the industry to invest not based on what the IEA says or what you know, popular opinion might try to suggest, but really what we see in terms of the fundamentals. We live in the real world, and we have to allocate capital based on real world demand, which is going to continue to grow.
You mentioned policy. We only have a few minutes left. I think top of mind for a lot of individuals that are here as part of this partnership are also thinking about the changing geopolitical landscape. You're the only producer left in Venezuela. The president is talking about maybe having a call at Maduro, but not leaving off the table troops potentially he would send in. Can you just tell us how you're navigating this moment in the country?
We've been in Venezuela for nearly 100 years, similar to our history in the kingdom. We've seen ups and downs. One of the things that comes with our business is oftentimes we find ourselves in places where there are political transitions, including in this country, by the way. And a stable environment, and I would say the kingdom has had a very stable environment, is conducive to long-term investment. The kinds of swings that you see in places like Venezuela are challenging, but we play a long game. Venezuela is blessed with a lot of geologic resource and bounty, and you know, we are committed to the people of the country and would like to be there as part of rebuilding Venezuela's economy in time when circumstances change.
Part of policy right now as well is 3 main OPEC plus producers, Venezuela, Iran, Russia, are sanctioned. Are there discussions, Amin, in the kingdom? Could Aramco fill the voids and the gaps if more oil was to come off the market?
No, the kingdom policy through the Ministry of Energy, which is participating in the OPEC Plus, is to balance the market and ensure that the market is balanced over the long term. And this is what they have been doing. And you've seen the relaxing some of the production curtailment that happened over the last, since April this year, we have seen 1 million barrels increase in our production as part of the additional quota that we got in Aramco. So I think what the OPEC Plus is trying to do is to ensure that the market is balanced, the supply-demand fundamentals are in a good shape, meeting the requirement of the world, and this is what they have been trying. For that, they need to ensure, they continue to feed the market with whatever is required in terms of their supply. As Mike mentioned, people talk about the need for more energy going forward. A lot of people talk only about data centers, and data center, I agree, is growing big time. By 2030, it's 4 times the energy requirement of all electric vehicles. But, people do not understand that heat and air conditioning over the next decade will be much, much, much significant than data center by multiples. So the need for energy will continue, and this is what I think the OPEC Plus, through their wise decisions, ensuring that the market is balanced.
Very diplomatic. And on that, thank you so much for joining us, Mohammed, Amin, and Mike. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Panelists for an exchange that set a clear benchmark for what real energy leadership demands and why it remains a defining force in every major market. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we turn to the other force that shapes the global outcomes. We're talking here about capital. Please join me in welcoming my American counterpart, Maria Bartiromo. Maria is an anchor and global markets editor at Fox Business Network and Fox News Channel. I want to welcome her. Please, a big round of applause. Maria, here you go.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
It's a great pleasure sharing this stage with you.
The pleasure is mine, and thank you so much, everyone, for being here with us this morning. The introduction was wonderful, Wiam. I appreciate it, and we are setting the stage this morning for very important discussions. It is a privilege to join you today as your co-host of this historic forum, a platform where leaders and visionaries from the United States and the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia come together to accelerate growth, progress, shared priorities. Our next focus this morning is finance and investment. It is truly at the heart of all we are talking about, of this enduring partnership. Through these pillars of investment, we have fueled growth in strategic sectors, and those are the sectors we will discuss today. They range from energy to AI to healthcare and advanced infrastructure. The spirit of this cooperation is expanding. We're very happy to say it is creating new opportunities for both, for innovation, resilience in both of our economies. Let us now turn to a short video that spotlights the evolution and the impact of financial collaborations between our nations. It showcases the strength of this very important partnership. Take a look.
Unlocking capital for era of global growth together?
And it is my pleasure to welcome the panelists to the stage right now. Tariq Al-Sadhan, CEO of Saudi National Bank, SNB. Sarah Al-Suhaimi, chairperson of the Saudi Tadawul Group. Michael Milken, chairman of the Milken Institute. Ron O'Hanley, chairman and CEO of State Street. Stephen Schwartzman, co-founder and chairman and CEO of the Blackstone Group. And George H. Walker, chairman and CEO of Neuberger Berman. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. Great to see you. and we are talking about shared growth opportunities. I thought we would start with you, Tarek, to give us a sense of what you're expecting here and what the opportunities at hand really are.
Thank you very much, Maria, and good morning, everyone, Your Excellencies. Glad to be here with a very advocate for the Saudi economy, supportive to the growth story of Saudi Arabia. I think I'll take you back to 2016 when the kingdom announced the Vision 2030. It was an aspirational vision. We had a lot of doubt from the international community about our ability to execute and deliver. And in that vision, the private sector participation was in heart. And I think in the last 7-8 years, we came a long way in proving our strength and capability in delivering an amazing goals that really drove the economy toward its goals by 2030. And one of the major goals was to see more of foreign investment coming to the Saudi economy and to see more participation from our partners across the world, and especially from the US. And we understand that during a big reform that takes place at all aspects of the economy, judicial regulation, regulational reform, and even social reforms, that the sovereign risk gets high, and some investor would be reluctant to come and invest in the Saudi market. Today, we are in an excellent stage to see more investment coming to the Saudi economy. We have an amazing event that's coming in the next decade that will make the return on investment is even much higher and really promising. We have the Expo 2030, we have the World Cup in 2034, and we have extended our support as a banking sector to all the private sector in the Saudi economy. And now we want to see more participation from our partners to really, for the journey to continue enhancing the growth story.
And of course, we have leaders from the US side in terms of finance, and I want to talk with all of you about that. Yesterday, His Royal Highness announcing a $1 trillion investment into America. Steve Schwartzman, you're no stranger to putting money all over the world. Can you identify the sectors that you believe are the most important growth stories of America right now?
Well, the most important growth stories really are AI and power. And those are the two things that we've spent a lot of time on. At Blackstone, my company, we're the largest developer and the largest owner of data centers in the world. And this is really an explosive area. We've just entered into a partnership with Humane and PIF in the Kingdom to develop the data center business there. And you know, we've had a lot of experience, and this is super exciting because the U.S. government is now green-lighted the Kingdom's ability to have you know, sort of the most efficient chips. This is really a very privileged position, and it's part of the overall relationship between the two countries. And so this provides a very unusual platform for Saudi to grow. So that's a lot of fun. And you know, just sort of generally, investments in power, as the previous panel talked about, is you know, all over the world, creating enormous opportunities. It's at least in the United States, it was an area that didn't grow, sort of 0.2% for 15, 20 years. And now you're going to have 4 to 5% growth and almost stocking out of electricity in certain parts of the country.
That's-
So everything you invest in globally on that theme ends up being a very successful outcome.
Very exciting. And Michael Milken, we are talking about two very different cultures. What should each side understand about the others as we embark on this great investment wave in Saudi as well as in America?
Maria, nice to see you this morning. I'd say there's four factors and we see here. When you think about development, the United States for hundreds of years required capital from the rest of the world, mostly from Europe, to build the United States. So when you grow faster, you don't necessarily generate the capital internally. So the four factors would be, one, what I would call financial technology. The U.S. has the largest, broadest markets, but it also has brought hundreds of different structures to allow people to build, et cetera. So you need that financial capital. Two, as we heard earlier, you need a young population. The entire developed world, birth rates are substantially below replacement. It's an aging part of the world, and Saudi Arabia still remains a young country. Three, education. When we think about all the issues, one of the things the United States had for 100 years, between 1860s and 1960, is the U.S. added 1 year of formal schooling per decade for a century. And by 1960, the United States was the most educated country in the world by 2 years. Now, we have slipped back, but Saudi Arabia really needs to focus on the education of their citizens. There's many examples in the world. The U.S. would be the example in higher ed. The U.S. would be the example in financial technology. But Singapore was a unique country. They were really the first country to make the decision to educate their own citizens to the level of expats so that their own citizens wouldn't be dependent necessarily on expats for the development. So I think education we can help bring in many ways to Saudi Arabia. And the last area that's been discussed is energy. This planet for millions of years didn't have electricity, didn't have hydrocarbons. It was powered by the energy of the sun and water. So when we start talking about agriculture, a whole new industry, vertical, hydro, growing warehouses, fruit, vegetables in Saudi Arabia. Energy will bring that also. So I think the technology and agriculture, education, and financial technology is a partnership that will cause not only Saudi Arabia to grow and the U.S. to grow, but the world to grow.
Very, very good. And Sarah, I think you can pick it up for us here in terms of the broad backdrop. What do so many potential investors need to understand about investing in Saudi, and what would you identify as the most exciting sectors right now?
Thank you, Maria. Very happy to be here amongst so many leaders, colleagues, and friends. I have been on this journey for a decade now with the stock exchange, and I do remember the first days of the vision when we kept on telling everyone we will be a very fast-growing modern economy. And it was great to hear that being said this morning by the Mr. Secretary of Commerce of the U.S. So this recognition is extremely important for foreign investors to come and invest in Saudi Arabia. As Tariq mentioned in the morning, we have, in the panel, we have been working on attracting so much foreign investors to our market. We started at almost zero. Today we have almost 100 billion in investment. Half of it is actually coming, a bit more than half of it is coming from US investors. We are not new in this relationship. It has always been strategic between our two nations. As Michael has mentioned, education. Most of the people working in the financial Saudis that are working in the financial sectors are either studied in the US or were trained in the US. So we get a lot of innovation and technology from the US. We have been doing this. We had a partnership with NASDAQ and still have for many years and running our market. And at the same time, we actually offer a very stable, growing, long-term investment capital to be deployed in the US. And we do expect also some investment here. And I think this counts as a counter-cyclical to any global instabilities. And if you'd ask about sectors, as my colleague said, I think AI and technology and also fintech and digital finance, I think, are the two major areas that might be of great interest for collaboration between both of us.
And Ron O'Hanley, you have overseen really a revolution in terms of investing. Will this partnership shape a new era? Because right in the middle of all of this, we are actually seeing a revolution happening within financial services. How will things change?
Well, Maria, it's a very good question, and it comes at a time, a very important time for both the U.S. and for Saudi Arabia. We've heard others talk about Saudi's been a historic exporter of capital, and now it's both an exporter and importer of capital. And what you need to do that is you need rich and deep financial markets. And like everything else that Saudi is doing at a very fast pace, it's developing state-of-the-art 21st century capital markets. There's now a debt capital market being developed there. We have the ETFs now in Saudi, and not just ETFs in Saudi, but you can now, we ourselves sponsor an ETF where investors in Europe, investors in Singapore can actually invest into Saudi. And this point about developing a capital market that is truly world-class, that will fulfill the needs of Saudi, but also regional needs, and I would argue global needs. Global capital markets depend on liquidity, they depend on transparency, and most of all, they depend on trust. And if you look at what Saudi's doing in terms of, one, setting standards, but also really pushing the frontier in terms of digital assets, of thinking about tokenization and how that works and putting it in a regulatory structure that's going to work for everybody. This will enable the kind of capital needs that Saudi needs, but also the needs of world's investors to diversify themselves and be able to participate in this market.
This is a very important point that you make, and thank you for that. I know that you have a presence in Saudi Arabia for over 2 decades as well. George Walker, what do our friends in Saudi Arabia need to understand about allocating money today in the United States?
I think our friends in Saudi Arabia have long-standing, large commitments to the U.S. and understand the market well. It's a tricky time to invest in insofar as nothing is cheap right now. And so I think it's a time for folks to focus on quality, perhaps more so than a more normally priced market would be. But I think it's also an incredibly exciting time to be investing in the kingdom. We've just built a large equity team there. We're become a large investor in Saudi companies' bonds. We've done some private credit transactions. And so we're quite excited also about the opportunity to help global investors, not just from the U.S., but largely invest in the kingdom, where there are great companies in the sectors that we've talked about. There are also really terrific opportunities in other sectors. We're proud to be an investor in Tariq's bank, be an owner of some of his bonds. It's a great bank. There are terrific pharmaceutical companies. There are terrific education companies, terrific healthcare companies. So I think hopefully this is going to be win-win for folks everywhere as we together build a stronger partnership and a stronger economy.
And this is all coinciding with the agendas of our leadership, His Royal Highness, MBS, and his Vision 2030, and President Donald Trump's vision for supply chains in America and becoming dominant and #1 in AI. Tarek, talk to us about the visions and how aligned they really are, Vision 2030 and President Trump's agenda.
I think the We have the trusted relationship, and you alluded to the common goals as well, from a geopolitical point of view, but also from an investment point of view. We talked about the innovation, both countries talking about innovation as a core for their future investment, and I see a great cooperation opportunity to enhance that investment together. We heard in the energy session before that Saudi is the lowest or the cheapest energy provider, and that really enhanced the ability for tech investors in the US to invest in the data centers in Saudi, for example, to create a great platform for AI. Saudi with Humane, and we'll hear later on from Humane, we take the AI and the innovation seriously, and I think there is always a great cooperation and discussion can be done to avail investment opportunity both in the Saudi market, but also for our investor and the client who want to invest in the US. Common goals, trusted relationship, create really a great investment platform to take this forward.
But there are also policy changes that may be happening right now that need to happen to really open the door to further investment. And Ron O'Hanley, I want you to take that on because there are critical building blocks that you'd like to see with regard to regulation or what you called market plumbing to actually open the floodgates even further. What do you want to see in terms of policy change?
Well, that policy change is really already underway in terms of what the Capital Markets Authority is doing in terms of creating the kinds of both equity capital and debt capital markets. Remember, Saudi is blessed with some very strong banks, but when you're in this kind of period, this investment super cycle that we're seeing, you need more investments. And to have those kinds of investments, you need the kinds of things that the Tata Wall is doing in terms of the stock exchange, but you also need debt, and you need to have a very rich debt market. So, as I mentioned earlier, the debt capital market is being developed. After that, now will come the vehicles, right? We've talked about the ETF. This is where you start to think about remember, people have talked about the demography of the country. When people are young is when they should start saving for retirement. When you start saving for retirement, you're also enabling capital formation. So I know there's a lot of work underway regarding the retirement system, but that intersection of developing a retirement, strengthening and broadening the retirement system, and using that as a way to enable capital formation will enable the kind of growth and to be able to fulfill the capital needs that we're all seeing here in Saudi.
And Steve Schwarzman, I know that you are a long-term investor, but do you focus on the policy changes, the regulatory issues before allocating money, before identifying where you will actually place your investments?
Well, we can see there are lots of good changes that are happening. You know, my last trip, I've been coming to Saudi now for, can't even admit this, it's like 33, 34 years. And in that period of time, a city like Riyadh has grown, I think it's seven times in size.
And you've seen a lot of that change.
What's that?
You've seen that change firsthand.
Well, they're going to continue to grow because they've unleashed something very unusual in their population. It's very positive. When we were at FII, they had one slide up on a screen that was hard to believe, particularly living in the United States. But they had a slide that said 88% of the people in Saudi Arabia are happy and positive on their government. I mean, this is like, you almost couldn't believe that if you live in this country. And what's happening is everyone I talk to, you know, whether it's Saudi National Bank or any of the major participants, are seeing change happening that affects their industries, that's creating a much more investable and more efficient operating culture since the Crown Prince has been in his position. It's been the country that's had about the most change of all types of any country in reforms in the world. And the economy is reflecting that. And we see in the olden days, you know, we managed money that got deployed around the world. It was a fine relationship. What's happening now is the kingdom's providing opportunities for us to deploy money that we've raised from other places. So, for example, we're going to start building warehouses in the kingdom and assembling a good-sized company there. We're the largest owner of private owner of warehouses in the world. It's something we really know, and we would have never looked at the kingdom. And now we say, okay, you know, we can come here, deploy capital, and it's going to have good outcomes.
So you're comfortable knowing that your capital has an opportunity to grow in that backdrop. Mike.
I think you raised a couple important issues here. First, we need to understand that the largest asset of any city, state, country is both the social capital and the human capital of that country. In the U.S., it is estimated that the social and human capital are worth about 1,500 to 2,000 trillion. The financial assets at about 250 trillion. So they're 6 to 8 times our economy of 30 trillion. So when you ask the question on regulation, the Asian crisis started in Thailand in the late 1990s, primarily because all of the capital and all the opportunity in the country was provided by 4 banks. The difference between the U.S. and the rest of the world is today the banking system is less than 20% of providing capital. The U.S. banking system shrunk in the 1980s as the country grew. But whether it's Blackstone or whether it's State Street or whether it's Neuberger Berman, they have provided the capital to grow. And so what we need to see is the development of these markets. And what's amazing that we're seeing in Saudi Arabia is, do we have an educated group of financial experts that can be the counterparties to transactions for Blackstone or others in the kingdom? We would be surprised, but many of the developed countries in the world have never developed an effective debt markets. Japan and others. They're so dependent on the strength of a few financial institutions. So what we see is a tremendous focus and growth in Saudi Arabia. When you talk about regulation, Maria, that would cause Neuberger Berman or State Street or myself or Blackstone to invest, we can't forget that in Asia in the 1990s, if a company defaulted on its debt, you might have to wait 7 to 10 years to access those assets. Well, you can't invest in that regulatory environment from that standpoint. And eventually the countries change the regulatory environment. But Saudi Arabia, in the 30 years I've been visiting, is way ahead of what we would see in many developed countries. So getting a group of individuals in Saudi Arabia, like our 2 panelists here, that are financially knowledgeable to be counterparties, getting the regulatory environment to understand that other investors investing in your country require a rule of law, the element of social capital, universal education, universal health care, rule of law, creditor rights, financial statements that are accurate. Saudi Arabia in 30 years has moved as fast as almost any country in the world in those areas, and a lot of our activities at the Milken Institute have been to shore up that knowledge of those markets. So when you have that regulatory environment that you've raised, it encourages people from throughout the world to invest in the country and the kingdom. And so that is what has encouraged people to invest in the U.S. for hundreds of years. And I see this is an area that many of the investors on this panel have pointed out, this is the reason that they're comfortable investing. And why not invest in a country that's going to grow? At this time, you have countries like Korea, Japan, and China that will lose half their population over the next 100 years unless they have massive immigration. So, regulatory environment that's positive, knowledgeable people, counterparties in the country, and a growing population. But why are people happy? Why, as Stephen talked about, an 88% growth? It's amazing what growth does. It lifts people up. It gives young people hope. There'll be more opportunities. Only 14% of young people under 30 in France think their life is going to be better than their parents. So therefore, they're not looking at growth. They're looking at when will you retire to make room for me in my position. And so that's one of the reasons for that 88% growth in the kingdom.
Really important points here, and it leads me to demographics and really what's going on in both economies. Sarah, are there different priorities from a much younger population as opposed to older when it comes to investing?
I think what Michael was saying, that there was a lot of development in the last 30 years. I don't think that the next 30 years will be as slow as the last 30 years. I think the youth and the population of the kingdom, with a vision like 2030, where every single person almost is working in the vision. And there is a lot of ambition that is ignited within us. I think because of the youth, people want things to happen faster and much more technologically advanced. Maybe that's why as well, today we have, as a society, conformed to new means of communication and understanding of what's going on in the world. Maybe other countries did not move as fast as we are, and that reflects on capital markets as well. So I think when we talk about innovation, I do believe that with the people we have in Saudi, with, of course, the R&D and innovation in the US, and through partnerships, we can find new solutions and open new corridors to actually mobilize institutional investing in both countries, and as well build a good digital finance for the future.
Ron?
No, I think this point about the youth of Saudi is actually really important because ultimately these partnerships that are being developed, those that have been signed yesterday, today, the others that are coming forward, they're terrific. But what's most important for Saudi is that that Saudis are actually employed here, that Saudis are actually leading these new businesses. And I think when you see what's going on in the country, and you see the development of youth, you see just the sheer number of energetic people that want to move forward. I have a lot of hope for the country.
That's very important. Yeah. And of course, this panel is called Unlocking Capital for Shared Growth. So George, pick it up here in terms of how do you do that? How do you unlock, given what we've heard this morning, unlock capital for shared growth?
Our small role in the process is hiring great people, which we've been able to do in Riyadh. We have, we think, an exceptional young team. We've been fortunate to partner with PIF, who's done a remarkable job of helping folks invest, and frankly, going out and making the case to investors around the world to help them see what we see, that this is a very attractive destination for capital. Valuations are reasonable, has very low correlations with other things in their equity portfolios, historically has had very low foreign ownership, has all of the attractive, important demographics that we've seen, that we've discussed, the growth that we've talked about. And so, you know, it'll be a process, but it's an education process, and that's happening every day, you know, in our little way around the world. And there are hundreds of other firms that are going out and having the same discussion. And I think it's all of us together are able to build that joint prosperity.
And you've been in Saudi Arabia a long time. Steve Schwarzman, you said a moment ago, you've been there decades. How do you expand even further? What do you need to see to expand further and unlock more capital?
Well, I think one of the most remarkable things that we forget is that until the Crown Prince took his position, basically women in Saudi did not have the kinds of opportunities that they have around the world and that they now have. This is half the population. They couldn't drive. They couldn't play sports. They couldn't go to sporting events. In the job area, there was much more constraint than you would ever expect. And those things have been reversed. And this is along the lines of what Mike was talking about, was social capital. When you basically liberate half of a population to start really engaging in a substantive way in managerial positions and other types of positions, this is creating momentum in an economy that people just didn't expect, and you've got it, and that's an underlying growth factor, I think, that will continue to help the economy grow and expand. It also explains why people in the country have such a positive feeling about their own country in terms of unleashing, sort of equal opportunity with half of the population. So you can't take that for granted. It's a sea change in terms of what's happened in the last, 5 to 8 years.
And of course, this is also hopefully leading to stability on a regional level and on a global level. Is that right, Tara?
No, absolutely. I think having investors from all over the world, that's a very soft power to the stability of the country, of the region. And I just want to allude to Michael's point on the banks extending debt for the growth on the market. And I think it's time to work closely with our partners in creating the right vehicles for the right sector for international investors to come. And we've been working with them, and hopefully we will see more flow of investment coming to Saudi to support the continued growth of the Saudi transformation.
Sarah, do you agree that it has been a sea change, as Steve just said?
It's been, there has been a lot of change, and I just want to make a comment on what Steve was saying about women. The world spent a lot of time worried about Saudi women. And today, Saudi women are hardworking, happy citizens. And actually, I think they're the most supported women in the world, because the whole vision depends on participation of all its citizens. And I think that is also a very big differentiator, especially in the region, and I think amongst all emerging economies, and we're much more advanced than developed economies in advancing women forward. We have seen women made it in less than 20 years. We have seen women made it to top positions in the financial sector in much less time than it took in the West. And this is something that we need to recognize. And on behalf of all women in all sectors in Saudi Arabia, we're really grateful for the support of our country. Thank you.
That is wonderful. And you are on your way to becoming a financial hub for the world. Ron, what would that look like? The Saudis do not necessarily need capital, but maybe there is some shared lessons on the ecosystem that we see in America.
Hey, Maria, that's right. Well, the Saudis have plenty of capital. Markets perform best when there's flow of capital, when there's flow in, when there's flow out, when there's different forms of capital, equity capital and debt capital. So what could this all look like? First of all, you've got a giant economy here that's growing very rapidly. And so it will need capital, and it will need capital from various sources. And wouldn't you want to see in Saudi that capital coming into a financial center that was transparent, that was modern? And that's what the Saudis are doing now. There's also as I mentioned earlier, I think there's a regional leadership opportunity. We're talking a lot about Saudi, but the whole region, right, is on the same kind of a growth plane. And there's a role that Saudi can play in terms of enabling capital in and out of that entire region. And then finally, with these new products that we're seeing, these new digital assets, the tokenization of assets, the whole world and the whole world's infrastructure is trying to catch up with this. Saudi's building that infrastructure now, so it could, as part of its ambition, envision itself as being a leader for those kinds of products and for the financial mechanisms and the market mechanisms that need to occur to enable all that.
And we are going to zero in on specific ideas in investment, particularly within technology. I want to thank you all, this esteemed panel up here, our distinguished guests, for your insightful comments. Thank you so much, everyone. We will turn our attention now to a very timely and transformative topic, and that is AI and technology, taking forward the spirit of innovation and growth that defines this U.S.-Saudi relationship and collaboration. As we embark on this next session, the digital blueprint for tomorrow's AI world, we acknowledge how these advances are reshaping industry, empowering talent, and forging new connections across borders. We begin with a short video for you highlighting the accelerating progress and promise of this industry.
The world is being rewritten. AI is the new operating system leading the future of the global economy. The future isn't just about that. It's about the connection. It's about partnership. From the deep research labs of the United States to the bold infrastructure-backed vision of Saudi Arabia. Two nations aligning their power, architecting the next era of intelligent industries, finance, healthcare, energy, logistics. Every sector reimagined. This collaboration is a launchpad, accelerating innovation, setting global standards, and extending opportunity to the world. The possibilities are exponential. What masterpiece will we create together?
And please join me in welcoming the moderator of this panel. Eric Schmidt is the CEO of Relativity Space and his esteemed panel. Hi, Eric. Thank you.
So good morning, and it's so great to be here. I'm really pleased to say that I was here at the opening in 1971, and I sat at the very back of the top row, and I remember it. The President and the Crown Prince have taken an extraordinary set of steps to make this meeting possible and to make the kind of potential of AI that I never thought would be capable just in the US. The purpose of this panel is fundamentally to talk about what we can do together between Saudi and America to drive AI for the benefit of both countries and, in fact, for the benefit of the world. We're joined by good friends of mine, Tarek, who's the CEO of Humane, Cristiano, the CEO of Qualcomm, Rajit, the CEO of Datavolt, Shantanu, the CEO of Adobe, Chuck Robbins of Cisco, and Jonathan Ross of Grok, all of whom are participating very, very closely to make this happen. What I thought we could do is start with you, Tarek, by saying, what is Saudi doing in infrastructure, and what is the scale of what you can do and what you want to do?
Good morning, everyone. Really delighted to be with you here today. You know, in this forum in May of this year, we launched a new company with an audacious ambition. So Humane actually was launched during President Trump's visit to Riyadh in May. And when I presented what should we do, what's our business model, and the discovery of the opportunity that Saudi Arabia not only could really provide to enterprises and government within the country, but also address a big problem the world is facing today with AI. I truly believe that the AI, in terms of compute requirement, we are completely underestimating what's going to happen. We are literally at the early days of adoption and true value realization. Humane was established to focus on 4 big verticals: data centers, and these are not small data centers, true AI data centers that benefit from what Saudi Arabia have to offer the world. How many countries in the world today you know of that have an available capacity of 15.8 gigawatt today? This is massive.
And growing.
And growing. And this is more is coming. A lot of it is a mix between renewable, traditional, but it's really exciting. And I was like, I could not contain my excitement about the opportunity. So let's go and address the infrastructure. Second, my colleagues on this panel, we have done crazy things together. They are friends, partners. And they all know I'm not writing blank checks to convince them to come to Saudi Arabia. We are crafting a win-win partnership in which we leverage US technology to serve locally and also to cater for how we could really help the world in addressing its gaps in AI compute. So from the work we're doing with Cristiano and Qualcomm on driving far edge applications, the partnership with Shantanu on driving AI content generation. The journey started with Grok today, that we have 150 countries using our data centers in Saudi. And Chuck and I done crazy things in India, Japan, and I said, you need to come to Riyadh, that's next. So, but it's really, really exciting because the totality of the AI total value chain, yes, it is an ambitious, crazy thing, but we do have one thing, and if we do this right, it is about infrastructure, scale, energy, and we have that today. And with this level of partnership, depth of trust, what they will tell you about the joint ventures that we're doing, I tell all of them, you need to put a skin in the game. This is not a transactional relationship, and I'm sure my colleagues will explain this as well.
So let's just randomly pick, say, Jonathan, what is it that you're doing? You and I have been to Saudi many, many times. You're up to something. What are you doing for the kingdom?
Well, about a little over a year ago, Tarek and I went on stage and we discussed for GAIN, the AI conference, what Saudi could do to become a net exporter of AI. And the idea was, just as Saudi had historically exported oil, now it could export intelligence in the form of tokens. And so we signed a deal, and 51 days later, we had a 6-megawatt data center stood up and running. That's a record in speed. And a good analogy is that was like the Prosperity 7 well, which was the first well that was producing oil in Saudi Arabia, and that started the floodgate. So what we're doing is, within about a 65 millisecond ping latency from Saudi Arabia, it's actually possible to serve about 3 billion people with an acceptable latency. And so the idea is Saudi Arabia, which is an energy-rich country, can use that resource to serve wide swaths of the world in conjunction with the US. And so we deployed 6 megawatts last year. We're now going to deploy another 27 megawatts and then much more after that. And the goal here is to become, the 3rd largest producer of tokens in the world.
So Chuck, you and I have talked over the years about the speed of data center connectivity, and you have a whole product line now around basically data center interconnects and so forth. So Jonathan just said within a certain amount of ping latency, latency is a delay when you get to your customers. He can serve 3 billion people. How are you doing that in Saudi? What are you actually building?
Well, first of all, thanks for having me. Thanks for allowing me to be a part of this. And I'll add on to what Tarek said. When he told me he had gone to Saudi, I was joking with these guys earlier. Some of my team members who had never worked with Tarek and never worked with the Saudis deeply, they were like, what are they thinking about doing? And I said, just trust me, we're going to go on this journey together. And we have a long history in Saudi and a long history with Tarek. And so we're doing a few things, and there's several reasons that I really am excited to be a part of this. First of all, we're providing a connectivity layer underneath the GPUs in all these clusters. And we were talking earlier about the pace, and Jonathan and I were talking about this too, the pace of silicon innovation that we're having to drive right now to keep up with the demands and the compute capacity. And even now, we've gotten to a place where a single cluster is expanded beyond a data center because of power in lots of cases. I have power locally, but I need to add a second data center, but I need it to be treated like a common cluster. So building silicon that actually treats a remote, it's called scale across, but that treats multiple data centers as a single cluster is some of the other advanced technology that we're trying to drive today. And we actually announced some of that a couple of weeks ago. And then moving into the business model, the final thing I'd say is that we're entering into a JV with Tarek and one of our other partners. And one of the things that's really appealing beyond the just understanding that this is going to happen, when Saudi decides it's going to happen, is the different architectures that we're actually going to get to prove out, which I think is really interesting because Tarek and the team are taking building multiple architectures to just show that this is possible across different platforms, and we're really excited about that as well.
So one of the things that you guys did that I've been waiting for 20 years is the union of LAN and WAN. Right? Yeah. Basically, the ability to actually have the data centers be cross-connected across distances, and that really, really helps Saudi. Cristiano, you're now also providing important components to the data centers of Saudi. Take us through the build, right? Everyone knows your chips and the things that. What are you doing above that?
No, very good. Again, I think thank you for the opportunity to be here, and I just want to echo one thing that Chuck said. Also, great opportunity to work with Tarek. I will not say when we actually starting the relationship. It's going to show our age, but. Look, what excites us, Eric, there's a lot of things we're doing together with Humane, and we have a number of different projects, so much so we're actually even going to have to build an engineering team within Humane. But we actually started with the very first deployment of hybrid AI. So the first thing we're doing is this vision of how operational systems are going to change because of AI and agents. We did first kind of AI PC with truly agentic OS, with running a model that is being divided between the edge and the cloud combined with, I think, the benefits, everything that is latency required, you put it where the human is, everything that you need a lot of computational intensive going into the data center. The other thing we're doing also, it's computer vision. Applications for a lot of industrial and vertical applications with Edge AI. Large visual models running on silicon, and a lot of cameras going to be deployed throughout the kingdom, connected back to the cloud. Another case, I think, deploying hybrid. And then on the data center, we announced is our first large customer on the data center. We're thinking about a dedicated computing architecture that is focused on how you think about an inference cluster is going to evolve as you continue to disaggregate, I think, the data center for performance. Our DNA comes from the mobile world. I think we design our chips assuming that there's going to be a battery on the other side. So when we saw the ambition of Humane to be an exporter of tokens because of the availability of low-cost energy, we said, okay, so the name of game on inference is going to be, can you reduce the TCO? Can you produce the most amount of tokens for the least amount of watts? And we kind of created this architecture that combined with hybrid in the data center, we look at a new It's not GPU based. It's kind of the architecture that comes probably after the GPU if you're just going to be dedicated for inference, and I think that's what we're doing with
it's important to understand that in the infrastructure, which I think we're all very much part of, there are many, many components needed, and this notion of the extension into inference or what is called test time compute is a very big deal. That's another part of the overall Saudi strategy. On DataVolt, tell me how you're making this infrastructure stronger.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity of being here. So at DataVolt, what we are doing is the whole team that we are putting together is basically aggregating the energy infrastructure, the DC infrastructure, and the compute infrastructure. We bring all of that together as one part of the value chain and basically evolve from the kingdom's dominant position as the lowest cost of energy producer to the lowest cost of compute. And the mantra for that is integrating all of that together. The whole business case is all about making sure that over the next 4 or 5 years, the kingdom does get into that very enviable position of being the largest exporter of compute, not just the largest exporter of oil in the world.
So, Shantanu, you operate at the software layer for the kingdom, and the deals you've done take large language models and the traditional leadership out of Adobe and do really interesting things. How will the Saudis use the products you're building? How will it change Saudi, in my view, for the better?
Sure, Eric. And first, let me, like my other panelists, echo my thanks for having us all here on this panel and for partnering in this ambitious project that we're all doing. I agree with you that I think this will be viewed, Eric, later as a milestone between the US-Saudi partnership in terms of AI. I want to take advantage of all of the incredible infrastructure that these folks are doing. So specifically, as you think about Adobe and the 3 layers, the first area in which we're partnering very deeply with Humane is how do you create these models that understand the cultural nuances and, Alam, which is the large language model that's been created in Saudi. We want to integrate the benefits of all of that, the data that exists, with everything we're doing with Adobe Firefly. So, the ability to create this model that captures the cultural significance and the heritage of the kingdom, and in fact, the Arabic world is something that, is very important. And then when you think about the usage or inference, I think all of us are building these data centers so that they can be used for inference. We're going to be a global partner of Humane in terms of using, as everybody else said, this incredibly phenomenal data centers and the infrastructure that exists. But let's talk about it in terms of, as you said, the solutions. We just believe that content creation is going to explode, and we know that. And so if content creation is going to explode, the usage, as Tariq has said, whether it's in entertainment, whether it's in education, whether it's in gaming, whether it's in cultural significance, that's where we're building a whole suite of applications that enables everybody in the kingdom to have those creative skills that we both believe are going to be super critical.
And the great news about you as the sort of beneficiary of this infrastructure from these folks is you have this enormous demographic of young people in Saudi Arabia. And that will be the power of the kingdom, ultimately, not oil and so forth. It'll be the people of Saudi who'll be able to use these tools. Can we take a minute as a group and speculate? We have just a few more minutes. Where does this go? Now, Tarek, you said 15.8 gigawatts. Let me remind people in the audience that a nuclear reactor is about 1.5 gigawatts, so that's about 10 free nuclear reactor equivalent of power. Can you imagine if we had that in the United States? Scale us a little bit. How fast is this going to get, right? How big of an impact? I mean, Saudis are known for a very bold vision. What are you willing to say on stage?
So a couple of things that maybe I want to share with everybody here. I had the opportunity to work in 3 continents. And there's something so unique about what has happened to me in Saudi Arabia. This private-public partnership is something I have not seen and observed, where government and private business like Humane comes together to solve a problem that is going to deliver huge results for the country and the world. Today, Humane, I will tell you, I will give so much credit for Ministry of Energy for what they have done to Humane, where we now have 16 entities literally sitting under the office of His Royal Highness Minister of Energy, solving one problem, finding substations that have power, and the land next to it and the utilities that you need and required. In less than 4 weeks, Eric, this is, it's mind-boggling. 57 locations have been surveyed. Identification of immediate capacity that I could go and tap on is 4 gigawatt, with available to go even to 15.8 gigawatt if we wanted to. What we want to do in 2026 is to build the capacity equivalent to what Saudi has built in the last 20 years, in 1 year. I know this is audacious. I know it's challenging. But I will tell you, I've done infrastructure all my life. I'm comfortable with this a lot. But I'm not doing it alone. That's why we have great partners with us today. And it is important that they're also aligned into a strategic initiative that is not just, transactional in nature. They're really put a skin in the game. The joint venture we're doing with Cisco and AMD, I think it's an impactful one because they are going to be a minority owner in this JV for a new infraco. Jonathan has done really wonders for Saudi Arabia. Cristiano on hybrid AI. So what you will see, 2026, 300 megawatt, and then expand and scale in 27, 1 gigawatt. And we will learn, Eric, that the data center is all about blueprint design, prefabrication, acceleration. So I'm optimistic about what will happen.
It sounds to me like what you're going to do is standardize the construction of these huge-scale data centers with all of this stuff in it. Now, can the rest of you speculate, what does that architecture look like? So, for example, we looked at the data center architecture, the blend of LAN and WAN, right? Huge performance gains. We were talking, Chuck, earlier about the rate at which chip design is moving quicker. I can't keep up with it in my other businesses because the technology has moved so quickly. What are some examples of things so Jonathan, you founded the company. I worked with you for a long time. You used to work with us at Google. What's the thing that you can do now that you couldn't do before, working with Chuck's architecture, et cetera? Give me a sense of it.
So it's all about condensing the compute as much as you can. So there's a little bit of science that goes into this, which is the amount of energy consumed is based on the distance that data travels. And so what you want to do is you want to cluster as much as you can and then have light links in between that are fast. And so one of the things that we're all trying to do, when you hear numbers like the amount of energy being used in one of these racks going up, the actual amount of energy per token produced goes down because the distance traveled is lower. And so what we're doing is we're building these massive data centers that are just much more efficient than spreading things around, and then we connect up the data centers, and each one does a different task. And this architecture is pretty fundamental. That's why you see it going. That's why you see people talking about gigawatt data centers. And what we're really excited about doing in Saudi Arabia is getting up to those gigawatt numbers, deploying massive amounts of compute. And then also, in terms of our architecture, the fact that we don't have external memory saves a lot of energy because we're not moving data to and from that. So it just allows us to get a lot more tokens out of that energy that's being provided in Saudi Arabia.
Chuck, you look like you want to say something.
I would just say, as I think about the future here, I think the combination of the power sources, and I actually walked the Ministry of Energy with Tarek a few weeks ago and saw the room where these people were working to identify the locations, and it's incredible. It's real, and it's incredible. I think the power, the willingness to experiment on architecture, the public-private partnerships, and the fact that we built scale technologies before, I think Saudi Arabia is going to turn into an example for the world about how fast you can go when you really start working together.
We're going to have to finish. Let me make an architectural suggestion for you. Because of clustering, the first data center is going to be 2 floors by 2 floors. The next one's going to be 3 floors by 3 floors. And it's going to become larger and larger cubes in the desert. Your legacy will be an architectural specter of small, large, and so forth, perfect cubes for perfect reasons of latency. Thank you, guys. Thank you all.
Thank you.
The first discussion was about the AI physical infrastructure that Saudi is building. And this is going to be much more about data and AI tools. And I'm pleased to introduce Dr. Abdullah, who is the president of SDAIA, which I will simply summarize as the Data and AI Group inside the kingdom.
Exactly.
Along with my very good friends, Mark Benioff, Gary Cohn, Ben Horowitz, and Ruth, who will, again, for everybody's benefit, we spent a lot of time in Saudi. So, Your Highness, Dr. Abdullah, let's start with SDAIA was founded about 6 or 7 years ago.
Exactly.
And you're the repository for the software planning and the tools and so forth and the AI knowledge, the systems, the LLMs and so forth in Saudi. Tell us what you're doing and what are you doing with my friends here.
Thank you so much. First, it's a great pleasure to be here with the esteemed colleagues from both countries to continue strengthening our mutual relation that is built on trust, ambition, as well as shared purposes. First of all, in recognition of the importance of data and AI and the strong relationship between data and AI, Saudi Arabia has established a dedicated governmental entity, later on called the Saudi Data and AI Authority, that is built on 3 main arms. First, the operational arm, where we run the national infrastructure on data. Second one is the regulatory arm, the National Data Management Office. And the third one is the innovative and the AI arm, the National Center for Artificial Intelligence. So with those 3 arms, basically, we managed to control the entire AI stack, starting from the infrastructure, going all the way up to the applications. So with the infrastructure, we are managing the National Information Center. And also what we did from the beginning, we established the National Data Bank in recognition of the importance of big data for the AI. So at the beginning of the National Data Bank, we started working with different governmental entities. So we managed to consolidate more than 400 mega systems from different governmental entities in one single repository. And also, in addition to that, we built a national platform for open data. And we managed basically to accommodate more than 16,000 data sets available for innovators, investors, and also researchers in order to conduct data analytics on those open data. So basically, we believed in the importance of the big data for the AI, and we think this is also very important for the investors from around the globe, and especially from the US, to have opportunities, for example, in data engineering, data ingestion, as well as data labeling, data annotation, also data analytics as well, in order to help the decision support systems. So also on the other side, if we go to the layer above on the models, we also developed our sovereign large language model, the Arabic large language model ALAN. And this was launched last year during the IBM Think, where the chairman and the CEO of IBM put it as who could be richer in data sources, in Arabic literature, as well as Arabic materials than Saudi Arabia. So from the beginning, we worked together with our partners to develop our sovereign large language models. So with that model, we managed to accommodate more than 500 billion tokens in Arabic. And also, we managed to collect more than 350,000 textbooks in Arabic in this single place. And also, on the other side, when you go to the application layer, the use cases, we established something called the sector-focused centers of excellence. So we managed to have sort of a ternary relationship between the governmental operators in different sectors, healthcare, energy, mobility, education, and also the researchers, the research centers, as well as the industry to develop one single solution based on certain sectorial use cases. So this model enabled us to develop those solutions, and at the end, once it passes the pilot, we take it to the industry, and this is what we did with more than 30 products. We had the IP, we developed it, then we transferred it to Humane, our national champion in AI.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Let's ask my friends to talk a little about this, starting with Ruth, president of Alphabet. Something else really important happened this week besides our meeting, Gemini 3. Congratulations, another big win on the leaderboard and ahead again.
Thank you very much.
You spent a lot of time, we spent a lot of time together in the region and in Saudi, and most recently a couple weeks ago. What is Alphabet doing in Saudi? I hope that you're going to use gigawatts of data centers. Perhaps you can announce that on stage right now.
So we're extremely excited about the momentum in the kingdom. I think that what is really clear is the upside from a transformation to an AI-first economy, to a digital economy, is profound. The economic upside is estimated to be 200 billion to GDP in the kingdom, plus all of the upside on social services and delivery of education, healthcare, as you know well. We built a cloud data region some years ago. We are expanding that now, just given the sheer momentum we see in the region, not just from internal use, but increasingly we're seeing the scale of ambition from international players coming into the kingdom, all of which, very much to your question, foreshadows the need for ongoing infrastructure growth. And I think what for us is exciting is you clearly, to capture and unlock the upside, needs to have clear leadership. It doesn't just happen. I think we're living in a world, and you and I have talked about this, that's a two-speed world. Science is progressing at a breakthrough pace. The implementation is much slower, and you need tone from the top to drive this. I admire His Royal Highness, the Crown Prince, is impatient on this score. It needs to move at a faster pace. And what we're really proud to be doing is working across ministries to have some proof points, very much to His Excellency's comments about organizing data to unlock it for faster, sharper decision making. So we're working with the ministries of finance, health, water, transport, each around this important question of data and analytics. And I think what's important for each of us in the room is we need to start on that journey, because the upside is an exponential upside. And one of my favorite stories, something that we talked about in the kingdom last month, is we announced a new solution working with the Ministry of Health, which is a platform to enable citizens across the kingdom to better avail themselves of insights about their own health. And I think what's really important on this is that it enables each of us to have greater ownership of what is the art of the possible, and it ups the game for doctors. As you know, I've had cancer twice, and so I'm passionate about the application of AI to health. And this operating leverage for patients is just scratching the surface. My doctor has said it is important because it makes doctors better and empowers individuals. But the most important thing is building off of that platform, AI can help democratize delivery of healthcare across the kingdom and around the world. And so what's beautiful is seeing these what I'm going to call them pilots, they're actually projects, but they provide the flywheel to grow. And very much to your point, the way we've developed Gemini, we have 16 Arabic dialects. Saudi is one of them. We think that's important. And we think it's also really important that there's a concerted focus around developing the talent pool in each area, and the kingdom is most certainly doing that. We're proud to be contributing to the work around skilling, the work with the universities, to have an ecosystem that actually captures what this upside is. So a lot of work up and down is the short answer.
It sounds like it's basically a whole of country AI approach. And a whole of country is the hardware and the software and then the integration into the systems. Now, Mark, this is sort of what you do. And you were early in this, even before you all bought the various apps. Why did you get started in it, and what are you doing with Saudi now?
Well, thank you, Sir Schmidt. I appreciate having us
We've
here.
been friends for a long time.
We have been friends for more than a long time. I would say that, number one, we've all been in the technology industry a long time. There's never been a more exciting time than right now. It's really stunning for all of us, and I think that one thing that's amazing is each and every day something amazing is happening that we did not expect. So it makes it thrilling to be in the tech industry. Before I go on, I really want to acknowledge our hosts, and especially His Excellency Khalid Al-Falah, who has done so much to help us enter the kingdom, and also His Excellency Abdullah Al-Sawa. Abdullah Al-Sawa also just spoke at our Dreamforce conference in October and really captivated our audience at Dreamforce. Dreamforce is the largest technology industry program in the world. Eric has spoken at it himself. We had 55,000 people in San Francisco and 10 million online. And when His Excellency Al-Sawa spoke, he really gave the incredibly compelling vision for 2030 and why this is such an important moment for the U.S. and Saudi to come together, but especially why it's such an important moment for tech companies to understand the opportunity to do business inside Saudi Arabia. And I'll just say that from my perspective, we need to do a lot more. That's why we're investing $500 million into the kingdom. We're going to upskill 30,000 Saudi citizens on AI and really give them the skills that they need to be successful. We've launched our own Salesforce Saudi Arabia, and we started to aggregate customers almost immediately, which is so exciting. We have one customer that you probably know very well, Red Sea Global, who's the incredible company that's the real estate and resort developer. You know, we're working with a lot of hospitality companies all over the world, you know, from Marriott to Hilton, but what's cool about Red Sea Global is right away they understand we're moving into this agentic era. And this agentic era means, and we've talked about this for years, Eric, humans and agents are going to work together. This is the one fundamental difference between AI today and AI even just 10 years ago. We did not have that ability for agents and humans to work so well together. And when you look at it in a hospitality environment where someone is running a conference or an event or a hotel or any kind of major program like Red Sea Global does, it provides that kind of fundamental framework to provide really the efficient use of human resources. And that, I think, is so exciting. And I'll tell you another really good example. Everybody knows SRMG, which Eric is their largest media group. And this idea that in media, and you know I own Time Magazine also, as well as being the CEO of Salesforce, in media, you're able to use these agents to do things that you just before didn't really have the ability even to get humans to do. It could be everything from renewals and customer service and customer support and follow-up and the sales development motion. But this idea that even just, inside the kingdom, you know that WhatsApp is so important. But to do it right within a WhatsApp type environment means that those agents are providing that experience. You start to put it together, Eric, and I think that, you can see, I think what is the promise is, I think Saudi Arabia, and I think a lot of countries have this vision, and we certainly do in the US, but I think Saudi Arabia really has the opportunity, more than anyone else, to become the first agentic nation. And I think you kind of had this vision yourself several years ago. You talked about it. But we weren't sure who would be the first agentic nation. But I think Saudi could be the first agentic nation. And the reason why is because of the investment level that they are making is so fast to bring in this next generation of technology. So that is really exciting. It will really elevate the potential of all of the humans, but also it will give us the ability to have so much more productivity so fast.
The agentic revolution is what's happening right now. It's agents and agents and agents, and many of them are going to show up inside of Slack. Gary.
Thank God.
A little ad. What caused you to get so involved in the Arab language model? You made a significant contribution in moving this forward. We had talked about the need for this. What was it? Did it just occur to you one day, or was there a customer reason? I mean, you're good at this.
As has actually pointed out in his opening comments, thank you very much. IBM has been on the ground in Saudi since the mid to late 40s. So it's an area of the world where we've spent enormous amount of time. We have moved our regional headquarters there. Like Salesforce, we have put hundreds of millions of dollars of research into the area. We've got some great partners on the ground. I'm looking at Jafali here, working with us. We've been in the country for decades, so it's not a new area for us. As an enterprise provider, someone working in the business world, not really dealing with the retail clients, we're trying to figure out how to solve the enterprise problems. Obviously, as we watched AI evolve, we watched AI evolve in English for the largest part. Obviously, knowing how many Arab speakers there are in the world and the importance of large language models, translating large language models over to Arabic and other languages is clearly an interesting first case use for AI in itself. And as a company that tries to find practical AI uses, whether it's writing code, whether it's running a human resources department, whether it's helping you with your taxation or porting over models, this was a natural opportunity for us to get involved in something which would have dramatic impact. And in turning it into native language would allow people domestically to then unlock the other resources. Obviously AI, the important thing about it, you've talked about this a lot today, is getting your data in order. A lot of companies today are still in that sort of early stages of organizing data. Organizing data is so important. Good data in, good data out. As we continue to organize data, we will get better and better uses. And I think ultimately it's going to lead us into a quantum world as we look forward 2 or 3 years down the road.
Thank you for that. Thank you for that, putting that all together. It's crucial for the whole Arab world, not just for Saudi. Now, Ben, I think of you as the original American in my world going to Saudi. For some reason, you were attracted to what they were doing, their culture. There's some reason why you got it first. And you brought most of the rest of us in my view. As the most senior in that sense person here, give us a perspective of where we came from, and then given what you're doing now, what's going to happen, and you're always first in my history. You're always the 0 to 1 guy. Yeah. What's the next 0 to 1? Is it agentic Saudi? Is it the whole of Saudi healthcare? What is it, right?
Yeah, so, and my relationship really started with His Excellency Yasser Al-Rumayyan, who had the vision for Saudi to kind of get to AI first and fast. And, through our relationship, I got very interested in what they were doing and how that might work. And I think that, when we looked at it, there were several places where Saudi is very interesting, not just for the advancement of Saudi, but also for the advancement of the U.S. And one of them, as Ruth mentioned, it happens to be in drug development and healthcare. So if you look at the Saudi population, it's super unique genetically. And so it's very important that the drug models we build and so forth be specific to Saudi. And then they're also very advanced on the data front on that side. So there's an opportunity to kind of accelerate the drug development process and using some of the AI tools to do that. And then related to that, if you look at drug development in the US, the longest period is clinical trial. And a huge portion of the clinical trial is actually just finding the people who have the disease. So if you have a drug that cures a rare and difficult disease in the US, it takes about a year just to find enough people who have that disease to put them in the clinical trial and potentially save their life. And so that's a place where the partnership between the two countries can greatly accelerate kind of the development of these drugs, help the Saudi population, help the US population in our drug development. So I think that's going to be a very, very interesting area. Another one that, that His Excellency saw very, very fast was, Saudi doesn't have a lot of technical expertise in their own young population. A lot of the technical talent gets imported from India and other places. And we have a company founded by a Jordanian engineer called Replit that really helps kids learn to code very, very fast using the AI tools. The environment is already set up for them and these kinds of things. So advancing Saudi technologically to kind of pick up a lot of these products that come from Gemini and so forth and take them to the next level, I think is going to be really important.
Are you going to do a new generation of companies on top of this? Does it just keep laddering up in your vision?
I think so. So the thing that's happened in AI that I think is really underestimated is, and we were in South Africa together and we were talking about, well, is there just going to be a big giant brain that's the biggest brain of them all and knows how to do everything? But it turns out that the universe is very fat-tailed and that human behavior is very fat-tailed. And so what we're seeing is there are so many very, very deep, extremely specific use cases that come up. And so there are, many, many new companies just filling those voids. And
so I've been given the hook, but Ruth gets the last word. Ruth?
Building on Ben's comment, the exciting thing about AI is the art of the possible has changed. And our colleague, Demis Hassabis, who won the Nobel Prize and leads Google DeepMind, the creation of Gemini and everything else, said when he won the Nobel Prize, we can now take on the most intractable problems in society because of AI. Excellent. And it is that sense of the art of the possible that's changed, which has to motivate each of us. And I think that's at the core of Vision 2030. And we've seen it borne out. The art of the possible has changed, and the kingdom is moving at a really rapid pace. And that's what needs to happen with AI, the art of the possible.
I've received my second note. I must end. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Your Excellency. Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay. All right.
Well done.
Thank you so much. What a fantastic panel. And we continue this morning. A compelling discussion continues, and building on these very visionary insights that we just heard, we journey further into what promises to be one of the most exciting moments in our forum, and that is the next frontier, reshaping the future of technology. The session stands at the crossroads of innovation and opportunity, where global leadership and ingenuity will define tomorrow's digital landscape. It is my great honor to introduce His Excellency Abdullah Al-Swaha, Minister of Communications and Information Technology of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Your Excellency, thank you so much. Good to see you. Also with us this morning are two incredible visionaries. Please join me in welcoming to the stage Elon Musk, the CEO of Tesla, founder of SpaceX, founder of XAI, and Jensen Huang, founder and CEO of NVIDIA.
Please have a seat. Now I'm sure we can do a bigger round of applause for one of the greatest two leaders of our history. Let's go ahead. So we're talking about, I lost count, $7 to $8 trillion worth of market cap, comp, I lost count. But right now, we're here to celebrate a historic moment. A moment that yesterday during the dinner, and thank you for joining us under the patronage of the Honorable President and His Royal Highness the Crown Prince Musaidi, where we had the pleasure to hear it firsthand. This is the greatest alliance between the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia and the United States, where we have joined hands and you have helped us build our energy-based economy, fueling and energizing the industrial age, and now fast forward, going to the intelligence age, where we can fuel AI factories, robotics, AVs, and all of the rest. Speaking of that, let's start with you, Elon, if you don't mind, Jensen. Feel free to chime in. You have a big fascination of something all of us have admired, first-order thinking, which Jensen sometimes calls first-order scaling, which is an opportunity for how you have dropped the cost of batteries from 1,000 for kilowatt hour to sub $100. And right now you're doing the same thing with robotics for actuators with servo rotors and motors. So I want to hear from you, how do you manage to always disrupt every single industry with that thinking?
Well, it's mostly not disruption, it's creation. So with, say, SpaceX, with reusable rockets, there really weren't any reusable rockets. But the essence of revolutionizing space travel is reusability. If you throw the rocket away every time, the cost of access to space is extremely high. With respect to electric cars, there weren't any electric cars when we started making them, really. You couldn't buy any, to the best of my knowledge. So with Tesla, we wanted to make electric cars compelling and affordable. That was the goal. With respect to humanoid robotics, there are no useful humanoid robots at this point. There are sort of gimmicks, but there are no actually useful humanoid robots. And I think Tesla's going to make the first actually useful humanoid robots. And this will be quite a revolution, and I think something that everyone will want. Because I always think of who wouldn't want their own personal C-3PO R2-D2?
Oh, yeah?
Of course. Everyone would want one, right? And then there would be many in industry providing products and services. This is why I say that humanoid robots will be the biggest industry, or the biggest product ever. Bigger than cell phones or anything else, because everyone's going to want one, and or maybe more than one, and there'll be many in industry.
I just want R2-D2 in C-3PO's body.
Yeah.
There you go.
Well, I mean, a humanoid robot would be better than R2-D2 and C-3PO combined times 10.
Yeah.
So people often talk about sort of eliminating poverty and that kind of thing, but really how long have they been talking about that? There's lots of talk. There's lots of NGOs sort of trying to do these things, but really not succeeding. And the evidence speaks for itself. But AI and humanoid robots will actually eliminate poverty. And Tesla won't be the only one that makes them. I think Tesla will pioneer this, but there will be many other companies that make humanoid robots. But there is only basically one way to make everyone wealthy, and that is AI and robotics.
And we can't talk about robotics without AI factories. And yesterday was such a historic day for the two nations, but also for all of us, where we celebrate the AI strategic partnership with the US, signed, witnessed by the Honorable President and His Royal Highness, about how we are committing our capital, energy, land to energize the AI US ecosystem, to be able to build inference nodes, training nodes, and to be the most AI-enabled nation. With that announcement, tell me what's next in AI factories, Jensen?
There's a beautiful story about how Saudi Arabia is building AI refineries and now building or oil refineries to AI factories.
I love that.
I've said that AI is an infrastructure, and the reason for that, of course, we understand AI from the perspective of the technology and how it's revolutionizing every industry. Digital intelligence, of course, has applications into every field. And so it's going to be used by every company, every industry, every country. In that way, it's foundational, and therefore it's part of infrastructure. What is new about AI from a computer science perspective is that the way computing was done in the past was largely retrieval-based computing. Somebody typed in a story, or somebody created a piece of art, or came up with 4 versions of a digital ad, or it's all pre-built by somebody, which is then using a system to retrieve the appropriate version for you. It's a retrieval-based computing model. Hadoop and many of the frameworks and operating systems of the past, all designed to retrieve the appropriate information for you. But today, software is going to be generated in real time. It's generative. Based on the context, based on the circumstance, based on who you are, based on the problem you asked, based on your prompt, it will generate unique content for you. Every single time, for everybody, it's unique. When you use Grok, every time you use it is different. Just based on the right, based on the prompt that you give it, and based on the circumstance, and so therefore, it used to be retrieval based. Today, it's generative, and if it's generative, then and every time is different, then you need AI factories all over the world to generate the content in real time, which is the reason why you need AI factories. And this is a unique way of doing computation, but the benefit, of course, is that everything isn't preconceived and pre-documented, and it's contextually sensible and therefore intelligent.
So AI factories and robotics, and we heard it yesterday from His Royal Highness, his vision, how to augment our workforce with roughly tens of millions of robotics to be able to infuse the next wave of productivity and progress. But this scares a lot of folks here when it comes to the future of jobs. So let's hear about your thoughts, Elon and Jensen, on that.
Sure. Well, if you say, like, in the long term, where will things end up? Long term, I don't know what long term is. Maybe it's 10, 20 years, something like that. For me, that's long term. My prediction is that work will be optional.
Optional?
Optional. So...
We'll take that.
Yeah. I mean, it'll be like playing sports or a video game or something like that. If you want to work, in the same way, like you can go to the store and just buy some vegetables, or you could grow vegetables in your backyard. It's much harder to grow vegetables in your backyard, but some people still do it because they like growing vegetables. That will be what work is like, optional. Now, between now and then, there's actually a lot of work to get to that point. And I always recommend people read Ian Banks' culture books to get a sense for what a probable positive AI future is like. And interestingly, in those books, money doesn't exist. It's kind of interesting. And my guess is, if you go out long enough, assuming there's a continued improvement in AI and robotics, which seems likely, the money will stop being relevant at some point in the future. Now, there will still be constraints on power, like electricity and mass. The fundamental physics elements will still be constraints. But I think at some point, currency becomes irrelevant.
Jensen, any thoughts?
By the way, the NVIDIA earnings call is later today.
And by the way, since currency is relevant.
Cheers.
Elon just wants share with you some breaking news. The two of us would like to share some breaking news. Let's see. I would say there's different horizons you could look at. Everybody's jobs will be different. I think that's for sure. How the students learn will be different. How people do their work will be different, obviously, because a lot of the things that we do mundanely or arduously or very difficultly are going to be done very simply. And so we're going to be more productive from that sense. One of the things that I will say is that for most people or a company, if your life becomes more productive, and if the things that you're doing with great difficulty become simpler, it is very likely, because you have so many ideas, you'll have more time to go pursue things. It is my guess that Elon will be busier as a result of AI. I'm going to be busier as a result of AI. And the reason for that is because we have so many ideas we want to pursue, so many things that we still have in our backlog inside our company that we can go pursue. If we were more productive, we can get to those things faster. And so in the near term, I would say that there's every evidence that we will be more productive and yet still be busier because we have so many ideas. One thing that I will say, give you some evidence, is that, and I was just telling Elon about this earlier, radiology, for example, has largely been converted to AI-driven radiology, and there's some really great companies doing that. And the surprising thing is the prediction that all radiologists would be the first jobs to go was exactly the opposite. The trend shows that there are more radiologists being hired now as a result of AI. And the reason for that, if you take a step back, it's because the goal of a radiologist is not to study the images. The goal of a radiologist is to diagnose a disease. Now the studying of the images became so productive, they could study more images, study more modalities, spend more time with the patients. And as a result, they're actually accepting more patients. We're doing more radiology all around the world. We're doing a better job with diagnosing disease. And so that's kind of the near-term outcome of AI and productivity. And we'll see what happens long-term. You know, when currency doesn't matter anymore, just, let me know right before.
You'll see it coming. You'll see it coming.
We text often, so just
yeah, we do.
Yeah, just text it out. Yeah, let me know.
I kind of agree with both of you, because if you look at every technological trend, every general purpose technology has been net new positive for the globe, for humanity, and so forth. And let me share with you two case studies.
And Your Excellency, I think it's precisely the reason for that is because all the great ideas from innovators like Elon, that you have so many good ideas that
and
AI,
Jensen as well.
Yeah, well, thank you.
So let me share with you two stories from two Saudi innovators in collaboration with a lot of the great work that NVIDIA does, that Grok does. One is Professor Omar Yagi. All right. Let me say that again. One is Professor Omar Yagi, who is...
I might need to move the mic.
All right. Cool. Here, come on, we'll share this one.
All right. So now,
get closer.
Let's try this one more time. So one of them is Professor Omar Yagi, who's the first American Saudi to win a Nobel Prize in creating new chemistry. And the way he has done that, he has leveraged AI accelerators and models like Grok to be able to create new chemistry when it comes to metal organic frameworks. Those are metal ions that are positively charged with organic linkers to be able to effectively create a sponge with 0.33 nanometers pores to capture water from air and also to capture carbon dioxide. The second story has also to do with AI accelerated by NVIDIA and with models like Grok, which is nanopalm, which is effectively creating a nanorobot 500 nanometers by 1,000 nanometers to be able to do gene editing, leveraging the CRISPR technology to take out sickle cell disease. Now, in both these instances, they originated 20 years ago in research, but AI was able to
really accelerate the outcomes and the outputs such that we can move into new value pools. So I think with every technological trend, humanity is going to always manage to shift to new value pools when it comes to workforce and productivity. But we have some great announcements to talk about here today. Let's begin with you, Elon, the things that we're doing with XAI.
Yeah, we're excited to announce that we're doing a 500 megawatt, 500
megawatt.
500 megawatt, yeah.
We're doing 500 We're doing 500 megawatts.
Sorry,
Not
there's...
quite,
yeah, no, there's 500 gigawatt one, we'll have to wait. That'll be $8 bazillion trillion.
Stop that.
So yeah, we're doing a XAI, and the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia are doing a
Humane, 500 megawatts, starting with 50 megawatts phase 1, and we're doing it with NVIDIA.
Yeah.
Congratulations to the Humane team, to Tarek and team, such a fantastic job. Jensen, I think we're also doing some great announcements this week.
We are?
Yeah.
We're announcing all kinds of things. Our partnership with Humane is going incredibly well. First of all, we work together to get this company started and off the ground, and just got an incredible customer with Elon. Could you imagine a startup company, approximately $0 billion in revenues, now going to build a data center for Elon? 500 megawatts is gigantic. This company is off the charts right away. In addition to that, we're working AWS, as you know, is also
Congratulations
coming.
to the Humane team with AWS, starting with 100 megawatts with a gigawatt ambition and counting.
So AWS is also coming to Humane. We're working with Humane on Omniverse digital twins. As you know, that AI is not just, just agentic AI and chatbots and cognitive AI is incredibly important to the world. But AI applies to everything, chemicals and proteins and genes and physics and fluid dynamics and particles and, of course, robotics and activation. And we created this world called Omniverse where robots can learn how to be good robots. And it's physically based, it obeys the laws of physics, and so robots can learn in these environments. And we're working with Humane to apply Omniverse to all kinds of digital factories and robotics and warehouses and things like that. And so that's another. We're also working in Saudi Arabia to build supercomputers to simulate quantum computers, and using our computers to be the controller and the error correction. Quantum error correction requires an enormous amount of computation, and so we're doing a lot of great work there too. So a big partnership with Humane. They're off the charts, off the ground and off the charts at the same time.
This is how we walk the talk in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia in partnership with the US. Yesterday, the President and His Royal Highness announced the AI Strategic Framework and Partnership. Today, we're going big with Elon and Jensen. So thank you for those opportunities. Now, they told me I have time for 2 last questions. So last night at the dinner, I got a number of questions because it seems that the schedule leaked. And everybody was giving me hints about the last 2 questions I'm going to do. So the first one was for you, Elon. And there's a big one for you, Jensen. So prepare for that one. AI in space, is that possible?
Yes. If civilization continues, which it probably will, then AI in space is inevitable. You know, I always have to preface that, you know. We shouldn't take civilization for granted. We need to make sure to take care to ensure that civilization has an upward arc. I mean, any student of history knows that civilization does not always have an upward arc, and in fact, civilizations have life cycles. So hopefully we are in a strong upward arc. I think we are for now, but we don't want to take that for granted or be complacent. But the way to think of AI in space is that in order to achieve any meaningful percentage of a Kardashev 2 scale civilization, where you're using even a millionth of the sun's energy, you must have solar-powered AI satellites in deep space. So that once you realize, like, once you think in terms of a Kardashev 2-scale civilization, which is what percentage of the sun's energy are you turning into useful work, then it becomes obvious that space is overwhelmingly what matters. Overwhelmingly, the sun only receives roughly 1/2 billionth of the Earth only receives roughly 1/2 billionth of the sun's energy. So if you want to have something that is, say, 1 million times more energy than Earth could possibly produce, you must go into space. So this is where it's kind of handy to have a space company, I guess. Sell the book.
Easier to cool chips in space, too.
Yes.
Easier to cool chips in space. Yeah.
Yes, there's definitely no water in space, so you're going to have to do something that doesn't involve water.
Just hang out.
Well, you just got to radiate.
That's right.
So my estimate is that actually that the cost of electricity, like the cost effectiveness of AI in space will be overwhelmingly better than AI on the ground. So long before you exhaust potential energy sources on Earth, long before, meaning, like, I think even perhaps in the 4 or 5 year time frame, the lowest cost way to do AI compute will be with solar-powered AI satellites. So I'd say not more than 5 years from now.
Wow. And just look at the supercomputers we're building together. Let's say each one of the racks is 2 tons. Out of that 2 tons, 1.95 of it is probably for cooling.
Right.
Oh, yeah. Just imagine how tiny that little supercomputer is, right? Each one of these GB300 racks will just be a little tiny thing.
And just electricity generation is already becoming a challenge. So if you start doing any kind of scaling for both electricity generation and cooling, you realize, okay, space is incredibly compelling. So, like, let's say you wanted to do, I don't know, 200 or 300 gigawatts per year of AI compute.
Yeah.
It's very difficult to do that on Earth. The U.S. average electricity usage, last time I checked, was around 460 gigawatts per year average usage. So something like, say, at 300, if you're doing 300 gigawatts a year, that would be like 2/3 of U.S. electricity production per year. Yeah. There's no way you're building power plants at that level. And then if you take it up to, say, 1 terawatt per year, impossible.
Yeah.
Like, you have to do that in space. There just is no way to do 1 terawatt per year on Earth. And in space, you've got continuous solar. You've got you actually don't need batteries because it's always sunny in space.
That's right, exactly.
And the solar panels actually become cheaper because you don't need glass or framing, and the cooling is just radiative. So that's why I think
that's the dream.
Yes,
that's the dream.
So Jensen, everybody last night was asking me, and I'm mindful it's earnings call for you today, so I'm going to say this delicately. Everybody has been asking me to ask you, are we going to have an AI bubble?
That's the last question. All right, no. All right, let me just tell you what we see. Okay, so I think it's really important when you look at what's happening around the world and go back to first principles of what's happening in computer science and computing. There are 3 things that's happening. The first thing is that we all know that Moore's law has run its course, and the amount of demand for computing versus the amount of computation we can get out of general purpose computing is really challenging. And so the world's been moving to accelerated computing for some time. We've been pushing this now for over 20 years. Let me give you one statistic. I was just at supercomputing. 6 years ago, CPUs were 90% of the world's supercomputers, top 500 supercomputers. 6 years ago. This year, less than 15%. Went from 90% to 10%, and meanwhile, accelerated computing went from the other way, 10% to now 90%. Okay, so you're seeing that inflection point, the transition in high-performance computing from general-purpose computing to accelerated computing. Well, one of the most intensive computation things that the world does in cloud is data processing. Several $100 billion of computation is done on just raw data processing. It has nothing to do with AI. Just SQL processing, data frames, everybody's names, address, their sex, their age, where they live, how much money they make. All of that sits into a data frame, and that data frame drives the world today, whether it's in banking or whether it's in credit cards or, of course, e-commerce and everything from ad recommendation. And everything is driven off of that data frame. That data frame costs hundreds of billions of dollars to go compute. And so that's the number one thing, end of Moore's law. The second thing is generative AI. What the most important application of the last 15 years is called REXs, recommender systems. How do we know what information to recommend to us in a social feed? How do you know what ad to recommend to somebody, what book to recommend, what movie to recommend? The internet is so gigantic without a recommender system that a little tiny, no chance I've ever seen the right information. That REXs is the engine of the internet today. That's going generative AI. It used to be running on CPUs, now it runs on GPUs. Which then says the third thing, if you just look at those two applications, many of the internet companies can build an enormous number of GPU supercomputers just doing that. Of course, then it creates the third opportunity on top of it, which is Agentic AI. This is Grok, and this is OpenAI, this is Anthropic, this is Gemini. Agentic AI sits on top of that. But don't forget to think about what is happening underneath what everybody sees as AI today. There's a whole movement of computing from general purpose computing to accelerated computing. And that, if you take that into consideration, you'll come to the conclusion that, in fact, what is left over to fuel that revolutionary agentic AI is not only substantially less than you thought, and all of it justified.
Well, I was just informed by the team that my boss and your bosses is going to talk next, the Honorable President and His Royal Highness the Crown Prince, and hence we ran out of time. But in essence, this is so much love for you, Elon and Jensen. But this, in essence, is a 92 alliance that shifted from energy to digital to the intelligence age, powered by pioneers such as Elon and Jensen, to serve humanity and create on a net new basis new economies, new jobs, and a better future for humanity, powered by the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia and the United States. Thank you for a lifetime partnership and friendship. Thank you, Elon. Thank you, Jensen.
Thank you.
Conversation about the future of technology spoken by the people building it. To His Excellency Abdullah Swaha, Elon Musk, and Jensen Huang, thank you for a conversation that did more than describe the future of technology. It actually showed us who's building it and how. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we ask you to remain in the plenary. We will soon proceed with the special address by the leaders. As His Excellency Swaha mentioned, our leaders are about to arrive. So the sponsorship recognition segment will take place after their departure. And I just want to mention that His Royal Highness the Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman bin Abdulaziz Al Saud will deliver his speech in Arabic. For English-speaking guests, we have live translation devices available for you. Our ground team will be more than happy to assist you. Thank you.
Waiting for someone to sing me his song. So many dreams I kept deep inside me, alone in the dark. But now you've come along. On Just say, hey, I love you. Never be all alone. 'Cause you light up my life. You give me hope to carry on. You light up my days and fill my nights with song. 'Cause you light up my life. You give me hope to carry on. You light up my days and fill my nights with song. It can't be wrong when it feels so right. 'Cause you light up my So many nights I'd sit by my window, waiting for someone to sing me his song. So many dreams I kept deep inside me, alone in the dark. But now you've come along, and you light up my life.
her memory. She is smiling alone. In the lamplight, the withered leaves collect at my feet, and the wind begins to mourn. Memory, all alone in the moonlight, I can dream of the old days. Life was beautiful then. I remember the time I knew what happiness was. Let the memory live again. Every street lamp seems to beat a fatalistic warning. Someone mutters and the street lamp sputters, and soon it will be morning. Daylight, I must wait for the sunrise. I must think of a new life, and I mustn't give in. When the dawn comes, tonight will be a memory too, and a new day will begin. Burnt out ends of smoky days, the stale cold smell of morning. A street lamp dies, another night is over, another day is dawning. Touch me, it's so easy to leave, all alone with the memory of my days in the sun. If you touch me, you'll understand what happiness is. Look, a new day has begun. I don't wanna talk about things we've gone through, though it's hurting me. Now it's history. I played all my cards, and that's what you've done too. Nothing more to say, no more ace to play. The winner takes it all, the loser standing small. Besides a victory, that's her destiny. in your arms, thinking I belonged there. I figured it made sense, building me a fence, building me a home, thinking I'd be strong there. But I was a fool, playing by the rules. It got me through a dice, a mice as cold as ice. And someone way down here loses someone dear. The winner takes it all, the loser has to fall. It's simple and it's plain. Why should I complain? Tell me, does she kiss like I used to kiss you? Does it feel the same when she calls your name? Somewhere deep inside, you must know I miss you. What can I say? Rules must be obeyed. The judges will decide. The likes of me abide. Spectators of the show always staying low. The game is on again. Lover or a friend, a big thing or a small, the winner takes it all. I don't want to talk if it makes you feel sad, and I understand. You've come to shake my hand. I apologize if it makes you feel bad, seeing me so tense, no self-confidence. But when it takes it all, but when it takes it midnight, not a sound from the pavement. As the moon lost her memory, she is smiling alone. In the lamplight, the withered leaves collect at my feet, and the wind begins to moan. Memory, all alone in the moonlight, I can smile at the old days. I was beautiful then. I remember the time I knew what happiness was. Let the memory live again. Every street lamp seems to greet a fatalistic one. and I mustn't give in. When the dawn comes, tonight will be a memory too, and a new day will begin. A new day has begun. To dream the impossible dream, to fight the unbeatable foe, to bear with unbearable sorrow, to run where the brave dare not go, to right the unrightable wrong, to love pure and chaste from afar, to try when your arms are too weary, to reach the unreachable star. This is my quest, to follow that star, no matter how hopeless, no matter how far, to fight for the right without question or pause, to be willing to march into hell for a heavenly cause. And I know if I'll only be true to this glorious quest,
children not to do what I have done. Spend your lives in sin and misery in the house of the rising sun. To where nessun dorma, nessun dorma. Tu pure, o principessa, nella tua fredda stanza, guardi le stelle che tremano d'amore e di speranza. Ma il mio mistero è chiuso in me, il nome mio nessun saprà, no, no, sulla tua bocca lo dirò. Quale donna luce splenderà. Ed il mio bacio
Your Royal Highnesses, Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, this next moment is the continuation of a journey that began in Riyadh 6 months ago and now moves forward here in Washington, D.C. It represents progress, shared ambition, and the strategic partnership between the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia and the United States of America. For more than 90 years, this relationship has been guided by trust, common purpose, and shared commitment to regional security and global prosperity. And today, this partnership takes a new form.
It certainly does, and we have standing room only right now. We are joined by more than 90 influential speakers, more than 1,700 leaders and delegates, 8 high-impact sessions, and countless private negotiations. And at the heart of this moment are the investment agreements, commitments from companies and institutions in both great nations that will shape the most vital industries of the future.
And there's no doubt what we're going to witness here, what we witnessed yesterday and today reflects bold, strategic, and future-shaping investment agreements from the most influential institutions and companies from the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia and the United States of America advancing at a historic scale.
And momentarily, we will hear from the leadership.
Thank you.
I've paid my dues, time after time. I've done my sentence, but committed no crime. And bad mistakes, I've made a few. I've had my shells and kicked in my face. I need to go on, on. We are the champions, my friends, and we'll keep on fighting till the end. We are the champions. We are the champions. No time for losers, 'cause we are the champions of the world. I've taken my bows and my curtain calls. You brought me fame and fortune and everything that goes with it.
Distinguished guests, please rise for the entrance of the 45th and 47th President of the United States of America, President Donald J. Trump.
And His Royal Highness Prince Mohammed ibn Salman ibn Abdulaziz Al Saud, Crown Prince and Prime Minister of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Your Royal Highness, we now invite you to deliver your remarks. The floor is yours. سمو سيدي الكلمة لك.
فخامة الرئيس دونالد ترامب، الحضور الكرام، يسعدنا نلتقي بكم اليوم في واشنطن بعد 6 أشهر من انعقاد منتدى الاستثمار السعودي الأمريكي في الرياض، الذي انعقد خلال زيارتكم فخامة الرئيس، حيث وضعنا الأسس لشراكة تقوم على النمو والتنويع الاقتصادي والابتكار، كما وقعنا وثيقة الشراكة الاقتصادية الاستراتيجية بين بلدينا في خطوة تاريخية لترسيخ التعاون الاقتصادي. واليوم يسرنا توقيع اتفاقيات ومشروعات استثمارية جديدة تتضمن قطاعات الدفاع والطاقة والذكاء الاصطناعي والمعادن النادرة والقطاع المالي، مما سيسهم في توطيد فرص وتوظيف فرص وظيفية كثيرة في بلدينا والنمو الاقتصادي في بلدينا. ونتطلع إلى أن يسهم هذا المنتدى لتعزيز العلاقة التاريخية وتطوير مسار الاستثمار بين بلدينا بما يواكب طموحاتنا، وادعوكم إلى اغتنام الفرص الجاذبة التي توفرها الشراكة السعودية الأمريكية. واشكر فخامتكم على اهتمامكم بتعزيز الشراكة الاقتصادية، والتي نثق أنها ستشهد نمو غير مسبوق خلال السنوات القادمة. شكرا فخامتكم.
Well, thank you very much. And it's great to be here today at the U.S.-Saudi Investment Forum. Great group of people. The biggest, you get the biggest in the room. But some of the most talented, maybe most importantly, the word talent, successful and innovative business leaders anywhere on the planet. Whether you have come from near or far, we're delighted to have you invest right here in the hottest country anywhere in the world. Every leader is saying the United States, we're the hottest country in the world. We're going to keep it that way too. But this has been, according to those that seem to say it, and I will say it, I would never say a thing like that because I want to be very modest. I always want to be modest as I can. They say this has been the best 9 months that any president has ever had. I'd say that's pretty good, right? But we've had a great 9 months. Now we have to do it more than a few more times. We just have to keep it going. We'll keep it going. I want to thank my friend, a great gentleman, Crown Prince Mohammed of Saudi Arabia, for his bold leadership and deep commitment to the ties between our two countries. Thank you. Thank you. Great gentleman. Yesterday, we had a phenomenal visit at the White House celebrating the 80-year bond between the United States and Saudi Arabia. We ended with an unbelievable show last night in a room that was far too small, but the next time you're here, you'll have a much bigger room. It's going to be much bigger. I made more enemies last night by we had 119 people. That was a record for the room. So they've wanted for 150 years. They've been clamoring for a ballroom at the White House, and we're giving them one. We're giving them one plus, and it'll be something. But you'll be here. You'll be among the first, if not the first, if you'd like. We'll work it out. But you had a lot of people that wanted to be there. They really would have witnessed something that was really incredible. The entertainment last night was incredible, including our great opera singer, but including the military. The talent and the military musically is also incredible. So it was great to be with you last night. I think it was something to behold. We officially designated the kingdom yesterday as the major non-NATO ally. That's a big deal. That's actually a very big deal. Great honor. That happens seldom, very seldom, if at all. So I just want to congratulate you on that. That's a sign of trust. We signed a historic strategic defense agreement yesterday also, and that's something that is likewise very rare, and it's a very honored company that you're in. And we're going to be selling Saudi Arabia some of the greatest military equipment ever built. We build the best military equipment in the world by far. That's why we do the most business, including nearly 300 American-made tanks is what you're buying, among many other things, the airplanes, and we're working on getting that approved very quickly. It's already approved, but don't worry. We have to go through a process. The process will take, Elon knows, the process will take about, would you say 24 hours? I think so. You're in good shape, very good shape. The partnership between our two nations is among the most consequential in the entire world, and together the Crown Prince and I are making an alliance stronger and more powerful than it's ever been before. We've had good relationships and frankly not good. You didn't have a good relationship with Barack Hussein Obama. You didn't have a good relationship with sleepy Joe Biden. But you had a great relationship with me, and now it's as good as it was, and probably even better if you think about it, because we took the dark cloud away from your country. It was called Iran and its nuclear capability, and we obliterated that very quickly and strongly and powerfully. But that was a real cloud over the whole Middle East, and now they want to make a deal. They want to make a deal. They want to see if they can work out a deal with us, and we'll be doing that probably. But that was a terrible cloud that you had to live with for a long time. 22 years they were thinking about doing that, the B-2s. That was even before the B-2s. Those B-2s, what machines they were, they flew in, they were undetectable. And they dropped their payload, and every single bomb hit its exact mark, which was a shaft going deep into the mountain. And every single one of them hit, and it was total obliteration. And then I was criticized by some of the fake news for saying the word obliteration was too strong, perhaps. They had no idea. Nobody saw it. 3 days later, when the Atomic Energy Commission went, they said it was total obliteration, beyond obliteration, they said. But they want to make a deal. We'll see what happens. This week, our countries also signed groundbreaking agreements on civil nuclear energy, critical minerals, and artificial intelligence. And I want to congratulate a lot of the great American leaders, business leaders that are in the room. And you'll do a great job for Saudi Arabia and for a lot of other people in the room that are buying your product, taking your product, and using your product. All of that is in addition to the $600 billion investment in the United States that Saudi Arabia announced during my unforgettable visit there last spring. Well, I said, could you try and get that up to $1 trillion? And yesterday, the Crown Prince announced that the number that they'll be investing in the United States is $1 trillion. So that's really an honor. And we just took a picture backstage with some of the great business leaders and some of the great people, friends of mine from your country, and beautiful picture. And while we were taking the picture, I said, could you make it 1.5 trillion? So he's got something to think about. I don't know. We'll get something. I think we'll get something, Scott, right? But many of you in the room are playing a key role in making these projects happen, and we're told that $270 billion in agreements and sales are being signed between dozens of companies, and that's just happening today, $270 billion. That's big stuff. So on behalf of the thousands of American workers who I care about most, I want to thank you for bringing all those jobs and all those great opportunities to America and bringing great wealth to America. We've become a very wealthy country. We have a couple of little things. We're waiting for a decision. We hope that's going to be good, but if it's not, we always find ways, we find ways, but we've done things that nobody thought were possible, and we're taking in trillions and trillions of dollars. Tariffs have been, frankly, the best thing that's ever happened to our country. They've always been used against us, and we never had people that were smart enough to use them in the opposite direction. But now you do, and we have taken in trillions of dollars, and it's been absolutely amazing. We're going to be doing a dividend to the people, low and middle income, moderate income people, of at least $2,000. In addition to that, we'll be paying down debt very substantially. It's the kind of money we're taking in. And really, countries that took advantage of us are no longer taking advantage of us. Friends, some of our friends treated us far worse than our enemies on trade anyway, and we've got that all straightened out. And everybody's happy. They respect us again. It's like one of those things. I think they like us better, and they actually respect us, and it works out much better for us, too. But I especially want to thank our numerous Saudi friends here today, including the ambassador to the United States, a friend of mine, Princess Rima. Thank you very much. Great job. Great representative you have. You sent a good representative. And many distinguished ministers and members of the cabinet, governor of the Public Investment Fund. Where's Yasser? Yasser's here someplace. Sometimes I see him dressed both ways. I don't know. It's cooler that way. I'd dress that way if I could. Yasser's terrific. He's a terrific man, actually. So thank you very much, Yasser. And Secretary Scott Bessent, who's been fantastic. Where's Scott? We're thinking about him for the Fed, but he wants no part of it. He likes being Secretary of the Treasury. I think we'll leave him. So let's cross your name off, right? Officially, right? Remember, you said that. I love the Fed job. To me, it's the easiest job in the world. You play golf for 28, 29 days, then you go and make a little speech, tell everybody, in the case of the current guy, the wrong information because he has no clue. But if you have good instincts, it's all based on instincts. I see they want to hire 3,000 economists, 3,000, to report to the Fed chairman. What are they going to do? Take all this information? 3,000 economists. That's why they're spending $4 billion on renovating a building that should have cost $25 million to do. They should have spent $25 million. They're building a basement into the Potomac River. I could have told them that's very tough to do and it doesn't work and it's very expensive. But they're up to $4 billion headed by this clown. But we have 3,000, think of it. They want to hire 3,000 economists. So they took a poll and they interviewed 71 people. And of the 71 people, 2 people got it right. 2 people. One was a great economist whose name I won't tell you because I don't like him personally, but he is good. And the other one that got it the most right was a man named President Donald J. Trump. Do you believe it? Everyone else was wrong. And I didn't have an economist. Why, it's Scott. But we got it right, didn't we? Huh? We got everything right. Doug Burgum, where's Doug? Will you please drill a little bit faster? Between him and I'll tell you, you and Chris was great on television, and he's setting records. They're setting records, but I'll never be satisfied. Drill, you know, we got elected. Drill we must, I called it. Drill, baby, drill. Con Edison, a great utility from New York many years ago, they used to have a sign, drill we must and dig we must. So when they were digging in a road, they'd have a sign, dig we must. Well, now we're putting those utilities to shame because I'm allowing all of those AI plants that are being built to build their own electric generating force, and they're building them like nobody's ever seen, and they're coming up with ideas and new contraptions like nobody's ever seen. And this way they can't blame me for not producing electric. I said, you produce it yourself. And actually they didn't believe I was saying that because nobody ever thought of a thing like that. They're building a massive plant. They were going to hook it up to a 200-year-old grid. And you know that wasn't going to work because there's no way of doing that. No way we could have done that. And I had the idea. This was my idea, approved by a couple of people. I said, why wouldn't that happen? They're building a plant for $50 billion. You know, if you build a shopping center for $50 million, it's okay. It's not a bad shopping center. $500 million, you're talking about top of the line. $50 billion. So when it was first explained they're spending $50 billion, I said, no, you mean 50 million. No, sir, we mean 50 billion. And then I saw some of them that were the size of Manhattan. I said, they did mean 50 billion. And I said, well, what you're going to do is with that, how would you like to build your own electric generating plant? And they looked at me like I was crazy because something like that, they really didn't understand it. The smart guys, they didn't understand it. They said to me at the next meeting, sir, the biggest problem we have will be electricity. I said, you don't understand. I told you last week, you're going to build your own. I'm giving you approval to build your own plant, and you will be approved within a period of 2 to 3 weeks. It used to take 20 years prior to termination. In other words, you would wait 20 years and you wouldn't make it. You'd be voted down 5 to 4. I said, we're getting you approved in a 2-week, 3-week period. In fact, Lee Zeldin, one of the superstars of this administration, I said, Lee, if it's oil and gas, get them approved in 2 weeks. If it's nuclear, add another week. Because some are going nuclear, and they're doing, be careful. They better be careful. But they are going to be careful. They're the greatest people in the world. So now they come back and they actually believed it. And now they're being approved rapidly. And we have things being built, the likes of which nobody's ever seen. We're leading China by a lot in AI. And we're also bringing auto plants in from Canada and from Mexico. They took them, and they're all coming back. They're all coming back because of tariffs. If we didn't have tariffs, I mean, they like the fact that we won the election by a landslide on November 5th. That helped. But they're all coming back, and they're coming back from Germany and Japan. Toyota just announced, as you know, $10 billion worth of new plants. They just announced it last week. I went to various countries, and Japan was one of them. And Toyota's coming in with a $10 billion investment in 4 or 5 plants. Now, we're going to be more advanced than we were. So we led the car industry like 100% 50 years ago. We led the chip industry 30, 40 years ago. We had 100%. Then people came in and started taking it. I don't blame them, Taiwan, et cetera. They took 100% because we had no president that protected our industry. If we would have said, it's wonderful that you're going to Taiwan, we think it's great, but when you sell your product back into this country, there will be a 250% tariff. Nobody would have left. Nobody would have left. And Intel would have been a giant. Intel would have been, where's Jensen? Intel would have blown, well, he now owns a big chunk of Intel. He's got it figured all different ways. Where are you, Jensen? Stand up. You have done such a good job. And you had a good 2 days, I understand, right? A good 2 days. How's Blackwell doing, okay? Any recent competitors? Anybody going to blow Blackwell away in the next week? They say 10 years, I don't know, maybe 2 years, 3 years. But you will not be stopping there. You'll be going further fast, right? An amazing job you've done. I want to thank Howard Lutnick and Christy Noem for being here. Christy, Howard, good job. Really good job. My daughter Tiffany's here with her great husband, Michael. Thank you very much, Tiffany. Thank you, honey. She was a great student. She went to Georgetown. She was a great, great student, and she finished really right at the top, and we were proud of you. And she was so proud, and her graduation got canceled because of COVID. But I say if her name were something else, they probably wouldn't have canceled it. They didn't like that she did so well in school. They weren't happy about it. I say they canceled your graduation because you were a great student, and they didn't want, but other than that, I have no problems. You see, I don't take anything personally. Anyway, great job. And of course, hundreds of the top minds in technology, finance, and private enterprise from both Saudi Arabia and the United States. But my message to all of the leaders and investors with us today, and they are the best in the world, is very simple. Under the Trump administration, America is back and America is open for business, and America is actually stronger than it's ever been before, ever. We rebuilt the military in my first term. Foolishly, we gave a little bit to Afghanistan, but not very much compared to what we built. But now we're building it at levels that we've never done before. And in addition to that, we're sending a lot out to our allies, and we're making it possible for them to get it. I want those companies to build more plants, to build it faster. We want them to build it faster. The biggest problem we have is we have a backlog because it's so good. Every country wants our missiles, our jets. They want everything we have, and we got to go faster. We just have a new plane, the F-47. It won a very strong competition. It's the newest, and that was won by Boeing. By the way, Boeing is doing an amazing job of coming back. Kelly is doing a great job. They're really moving, and it's really great to see. But they won the competition for the jet fighter, and they say it reaches levels that has never been reached, both in terms of stealth and speed and everything else that they go by. So they're just completing their factory, and they've already started work on the F-47. How did that number get chosen? I don't know, but I didn't pick it. I did not pick it. It was said, "Sir, we'd like to present you with the F-47. I said, "That's an unusual number. How did you pick that number?" After 4 years of economic nightmares under the previous regime, Sleepy Joe Biden, he was a sleepy guy, wasn't he? Think he would have been here today? I don't think so. Americans have rejected the failed, and they were really failed, far left models that you were looking at of high taxes and massive spending, soaring costs, crushing regulations, and trillions of dollars in green new scams. Everything was a new scam, green, green, green. Look, I'm all for the environmental, everything. I'm all for climate change. You know, they have a new word, climate change. It used to be global warming. It's global warming. Well, that didn't work because it started coming down. They did the global cooling thing. Then they just said, we can't keep up with this. It's too much. So we'll go, perfect words, climate change. They're covered. If it rains, if it snows, if it's warm, it's climate change is destroying the world. Remember? The world was supposed to have been gone 2 years ago. They gave us 12 years, Howard, to live, right? 12 years. But that was 14 years ago. The world was going to burn up, but it got actually much cooler. They know these people. It's a little conspiracy out there. We have to investigate them immediately. They probably are being investigated. Their policies punished success, rewarded failure, and produced disaster, including the worst inflation in our country's history. We had the worst inflation in history, and now we have a beautiful normal inflation. It's going to come down over the next few months a little bit more, but we have a nice normal inflation. We had the highest inflation in the history of our country. 9 months ago, our country was dead. But now America is the hottest country anywhere in the world. We're the hottest country. I don't care what country you're with. America is the hottest country considered. And we did this in a period of 9 months. We're a little longer than that, but it took me about 2 weeks to get started. We're rewarding those who build and create, invent, and invest in the USA. And you know, our tax, our big, I call it the great big beautiful bill. It's the biggest bill ever passed in the history of Congress. And Scott and I and all of us, we sat down and we said, let's do it, along with the Speaker and John Thune and everybody, said, let's do it all in one bill. And a lot of people were totally, they said, you'll never get it approved. And we didn't have a huge majority. We had a huge presidential win. We won everything. We won all 7 swing states. We won the popular vote by millions. We won everything. But the one thing, we won one, it's called districts. The country has districts. And we won in terms of districts 2,750 to 550. And that's the most, that's why when you see the map of the election, it's the whole country, it's all red. And it's pretty amazing. 2 little blue streaks on the right and on the left. And they're very little and getting smaller. But it's been, you know, it's been pretty amazing. But in 4 long years, Joe Biden secured less than $1 trillion. In 9 short months, I've secured $18 trillion to rebuild our factories, create hundreds of thousands of jobs, and bring back those beautiful words, made in America. So think of that. He did less than $1 trillion in 4 years, and in 9 months, we've done more than $18 trillion, okay? That's called success. And we think that by the end of the first year, it'll be over $20 trillion. So, and thank you very much. You helped with that little boost you gave us, that little increase. We appreciate it so much. We appreciate you. So it's just one example. Under the deals being signed this week, workers at GE Aerospace, I think he's here. Where is he? Stand up. What a job you've done with your new engines. And where are you? You're there. It's not a very good location for you. I thought you have been amazing. Great new engine that's supposed to be more efficient, more powerful, and less costly. That's not a bad combination. But GE Aerospace will soon be delivering dozens of new airplane engines for 787 Dreamliners in Saudi Arabia's commercial fleet. Big order. It was a big order just secured. Every new job and every new factory created by these announcements builds up our middle class and it really strengthens the industrial backbone of America. And, you know, I view it differently. I used to view it as it's great, great, great. The stock goes up. I view it, everything as jobs now because I don't care. I care about jobs. And we have more jobs. It was just announced we have more jobs right now than we've ever had in the history of our country. Those are big numbers. You know, it's like crazy. It's a great... just a great stat. More jobs today than we've ever had in the history of our country. And we're going to be producing a lot more are coming. In my first term, we built the greatest economy in the history of the world, and now we're do it again. But this is really bigger and better and stronger. The first term, we had what was considered the best economy that any president has ever had. That's nice. And we got hit with COVID, remember? And we did a great job with COVID, but that was a horrible thing for the whole world. The whole world suffered. Your country suffered. Everybody suffered. And despite that, we had the greatest economy. And before that, forget it. We blew it off the charts. I'll never forget, I met with pollsters the day before I got the news about COVID, but I met with 2 pollsters because we were starting to think about the next election. They said, sir, if George Washington and Abraham Lincoln came back from the dead and they aligned and they went for the president, vice president as a combination, you'd be beating them by 25 points. And then the next day I was told that something strange is happening. There's a lot of death being reported in a certain country. I won't tell you which one because that country is well represented here, but you know which one. And thousands and thousands of people are dying. And I said, that's strange. What would that be? And it turned out to be a disaster for the world. There's, you know, nothing has been seen like that since 1917. I always thought that when I heard, you know, pandemic or anything you want to call it, but I always thought that was like an ancient phenomena, that could never happen in modern times, but it did. But we did a great job with all of the things that we did with the vaccines, with the so many of the drugs that we came up with, making you better. Regeneron is an example. Regeneron was fantastic. I give them great credit for what they did. But we did great, and then we started doing the gowns and the masks and the goggles and the ventilators. We were sending ventilators all over the world. We became the king of ventilators. But what a period of time that was for all of us. But despite that, we had the greatest economy in the history of our we had the greatest economy in the history of the world. And I'll tell you, it was an amazing time. But this looks like it's going to be blowing it away, because when these plants, which are being built now, and many are going to be started very shortly, many, but when they open, we're going to see numbers the likes of which nobody's ever seen before. And, you know, in some cases, you're building extremely complex plants. You're building plants to make computers and to make telephones, to make a lot of different things, missiles. But you're building plants that make things that are very, very detailed, and you have to have great knowledge. And you're coming here and you find, if we don't have people that did that before, we are allowing you, and I may take a little heat. I always take a little heat from my people, the people that love me and the people that I love. They happen to be toward the right of center, toward the right. Sometimes they're way right. But if you have to bring people to get those plants opened, we want you to do that, and we want those people to teach our people how to make computer chips and how to make other things. You can't come in, and I'm explaining, you can't come in, open up a massive computer chip factory for billions and billions of dollars like is being done in Arizona, and think you're going to hire people off an unemployment line to run it. They're going to have to bring thousands of people with them, and I'm going to welcome those people. Now, I love my conservative friends. I love MAGA, but this is MAGA. And those people are going to teach our people how to make computer chips, and in a short period of time, our people are going to be doing great, and those people can go home where they probably always want to be. You know, when people are born someplace, they tend to want to go, and we have the greatest country in the world, but they want to go. But they're going to do. We had one case in Georgia where a battery factory, batteries are very dangerous to make. They're complex, much more complex than people understand. And they spent $1 billion to build a factory. And they were told to get out. And I said, stop it. Don't be stupid. And we worked it out. And now they're teaching our people how to do it. But they're going to have to spend, Jensen, I don't think you can open up a big plant with your friend from Taiwan where we're going to have 40 or 50% of the computer chip business at I don't think you can do that with people that don't even know what a chip looks like. Do you agree with that? So somehow, you know, the people that are against us are really, really smart. They're unbelievable patriots, but they just don't understand. Our people have to be taught. This is something they've never done. And we're not going to be successful if we don't allow people that invest billions of dollars in plant and equipment to bring a lot of their people from their country to get that plant open, operating, and working. I'm sorry. So my poll numbers just went down, but with smart people, they've gone way up. They've gone way up. And I mean that. So for those of you that are doing the plants, you're going to have all the help you need, and you're going to do a great job. And you're going to teach our people how to do it, and our people are going to be just as good as your people ever were in not such a long period of time. Since the election, the stock market has set, and this is a little more than 9 months, 46 all-time record highs. And the growth is now amazing, and it's lifting up the Americans and American economy like nobody's ever seen before. It's the biggest. There's never been a period of time like this. Wages for hourly workers are rising at the fastest pace in 60 years, and real wages for construction workers are up $2,200 a year, and that's good, and that's spending. They're going to spend. They're going to buy many of the things that you're making. In 9 months, we've lifted over 600,000 Americans off food stamps, and that's happening rapidly. You know, when we had the problem 2 weeks ago on the SNAP, and they talked about all of this, the numbers. So when I left, which was a rigged election, by the way, but that's okay. You know, they used to go crazy. I'd say rigged, nobody complains anymore because now they realize it was, and it's been proven, and it continues to be proven. But when I left, that number was $7 billion. Now it's $47 billion. That's Biden. So if you think about it, if Kamala, who's the same basic thing, grossly incompetent, he was incompetent, they're all incompetent because their policies are incompetent. Open borders, men playing in women's sports, transgender for everybody. I mean, they got the worst policy. I don't talk about it too much because if I talk about it, they might change. So, no, I don't talk about it. I tell people, don't talk about it. Wait till 2 weeks before the election and hit the hell out of them. Right? We talked about that, right, Elon? He said, we wait 2 weeks before. It's almost like you're at a war. Don't shoot yet. Don't shoot. Hold your fire. The enemy's rushing. Hold your fire. Don't shoot. Okay, now you can go. 2 weeks before. But I watched a guy the other day, a congressman, fighting for men playing in women's sports. And the new weightlifting record for a certain weight was just set. The man was 119 pounds higher than a woman champion who was a phenomenal champion. Beat her by 119, and he was an average lifter prior to transitioning. A lot of the Saudis that are sitting here saying, what the hell is he talking about transition? They don't do a lot of transitioning. They're sitting here, the Saudis are saying, what is he talking about? They're saying, what do you mean women are playing against men? No, that doesn't happen, does it? Yeah, it does. These people are crazy. 1.9 million more American-born workers are employed today. Think of that, than when I took office. So we picked up almost 2 million workers, and more Americans are now working, as I said, than at any time in the history of our country. Under Biden, 1 out of every 4 new jobs went to increase the size of the federal government. So in other words, 1 out of 4 was a federal worker. Well, I love our federal workers, but that's not the way you can build a country. It's a short road to a disaster. Under my administration, 100%, think of that, of all new jobs created came out of the private sector. In fact, the federal government, we cut thousands and hundreds of thousands of jobs out of the federal government. Now, if I wanted to do something for purely political reasons, I'd say, Susie, let's hire a couple of million federal workers. And you know what happened? Unemployment is unbelievable. We don't do that. They did that. They used to hire workers in order to fudge up the numbers. The federal workers. By the way, Susie Wiles, most powerful woman anywhere in the world by the biggest, most important magazine. Susie Wiles, she had her father, Pat Summerall, the great announcer, football. He was a great football player, became an even greater, the voice of the NFL, and he was supposed to be a tough cookie, and I believe it 100%. Most powerful woman in the world. She can take out a country, take out a country with 1 phone call. That's power. I don't know if I could do that, but she could. Thank you, Susie. Do you feel good about the job you're doing? Huh? She's never going to be satisfied. She's doing a great job. We're also making incredible strides to make America affordable again. That's a new word that they're using. Affordability, they talk. They had the worst inflation in history. They had the highest prices in history. The country was going to hell. The only thing that we're going up in is our stock market, okay? The only price that we really have, I mean, we're bringing prices down, but they came up with a new word, affordability. And they look at we are all about affordability, and everyone assumes that that meant that, no, their prices were high. If you look at the numbers, since I took office, core inflation is now below 2.7%. It was at numbers that nobody had ever seen before with them. Walmart just announced that the cost of their standard Thanksgiving meal is reduced by 25% this year from last year. So they make, look, the Democrats, I don't know, some of you are probably liberal Democrats. I don't know about in your country. I don't know if you know that word, liberal. The word liberal doesn't exist. But they have a new word now. You can't use liberal, you have to use the word progressive. And I don't like using it. It's a beautiful word, progressive. Progressive, that's not them. They're regressive. No, they're regressive. Think of it. So if I don't get in, we have $20 trillion. Let's say she gets in. Instead of $20 trillion, you'd lose $10 trillion, and your welfare and other benefits would go up by 30%. Look at SNAP. Look at what happened there. From 7 million to 47. From 7 billion to 47 billion. It would be that. So we would lose business. Countries and companies and people would flee our country. They would flee, and all of the other things would go up. In other words, would end up with a shell of a country, and I'm being nice when I use the word shell. This country would have been in big trouble, and I don't want to get him in trouble, but that gentleman right there, the most respected man in the room, that's today because we're here. Most respected man, I have to say that. Don't worry, when I'm with other countries and the leaders sitting there, I say the same about them. Don't worry. Don't get carried away. No, the most respected, one of the great leaders, he told me when I was in his country, he said, and I use it all the time. Sometimes I refer to him because I have great respect for him. I figure it sells better. But he said exactly these words. He said, it's amazing what you've done. 1 year ago, your country was dead. And now you've got the hottest country in the world. You were the first one that said that. And I've used your name hundreds of times. I use your name, I say, that king of Saudi Arabia said. But anyway, but it's true. We were a country that was in really bad trouble. We were a country that would have been dead, I believe, within a year or 2 years after the election. We were headed in a very bad direction. And now we're headed in the best direction I think that we've ever been headed. According to the USDA, Turkey is down, think of that, 33%. And I'm not talking about the country of Turkey. He's doing fine. Erdogan is doing good. Just want to, I don't want him calling me. I'm not down 33%. He's a friend of ours. We got to take care of our friends. Since March, egg prices are down 86%. Think of 86%. Many other prices are down in a similar number. When I first came into office, my first 3 days, I had a news conference, and they started screaming at me. Those people, that's a lot of people back there. Look at all the fake news. They started screaming at me, eggs, eggs. I didn't know anything about it. I said, what's going on with eggs? They're up quadruple. I said, I've only been here for 3 days. And we'll work on it. And we got them down very substantially. They said, don't buy eggs for Easter. At the White House, we have an Easter egg hunt. We buy thousands of eggs. People come from all over, thousands. They asked me, sir, would it be possible this year to buy plastic eggs? I said, I'm not buying plastic eggs. The kids are going to pick up an egg. They're going to, what the hell kind of an egg is this? And we bought maximum number of regular eggs, and we got the prices. Brooke Rollins did a great job, Department of Agriculture. She did a fantastic job. And eggs are way down now. Mortgage rates are down despite the Fed. Scott, you got to work on this guy. He's got some real mental problems. No, there's something wrong with him. It's just sweet. I'll be honest, I'd love to fire his ass. He should be fired. Guy's grossly incompetent. And he should be sued for spending $4 billion to build a little building. I'm building a ballroom that's going to cost a tiny fraction of that, and it's bigger than the whole thing put together. You got to work on him, Scott. The only thing Scott's blowing it on is the Fed. Because the Fed, the rates are too high, Scott. And if you don't get it fixed fast, I'm going to fire your ass, okay? I can't tell you, Scott, sir, don't fire him. Sir, please don't fire him. He's got 3 months to go. Don't fire him. I want to get him out, Scott. Please. He's the voice of reason. You're very lucky you have him, I'll tell you that. Done a good job. I think Howard's a little bit more for firing him. Right, Howard? I think Howard would say, get him the hell out of there. Anyway, well, congressional Democrats wanted the largest tax hike in history. They wanted to raise your taxes by 42%, 44%. I proudly gave you the largest tax cuts in American history. Don't forget, the great big beautiful bill doesn't kick in until January 1st. So all these numbers that you're reading about, all these great numbers, that's without the tax cuts. The tax cuts take effect on January 1st, and that's no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, and no tax on Social Security for our great seniors. Even people that go buy a car, they've never had this. You know, middle-income people don't know what the word deduction is. They don't know. This room, they live on deductions. Me too. How much of a deduction do I get? We all live on it. Middle-income people, they don't know about that. They don't really have deductions. We're giving them a deduction on the interest if they buy a nice Tesla car and they borrow the money. You're so lucky I'm with you, Elon. I'll tell you, has he ever thanked me properly? Although I do let him buy other than electric cars, but these are minor details. You know, we had a mandate, which even Elon thought was ridiculous, that everybody has to have an electric car by 2030. And once, fortunately, he said, that's a ridiculous thing. So I keep quoting, but I'm giving them a deduction. Now, Elon would like to have it differently. A deduction only if you buy a Tesla, right? But we'll let it be for everybody. But think of it. You get a deduction on the loan, on your interest payment. I think that's going to be an unbelievable boon to car sales. I think it's one of the biggest things, and we'll see, but I think it's going to be. And the biggest thing I've done for business and jobs is deductibility, where all of that money that you're spending, 100%, think of it, expensing for all new equipment purchase, factory construction, including structure. Every single thing you're allowed to deduct, expensing 1 year. And that's what made our first tax bill, in my opinion, more than anything else, bringing your money back in. We have that, we have everything. Trillions of dollars, hundreds of billions, but trillions of dollars. Apple alone, Tim Cook brought in hundreds of billions of dollars. You couldn't do it under the old tax code. You'd have to pay so much tax. And just the bureaucracy of it, we made it very simple. We charged a fair rate, and we took in billions. Well, we have that. But the expensing, to me, was the thing that made it so successful. And the other thing is all of those tax cuts that we got, that was the largest tax cut in history. On top of adding to those cuts, we extended the original tax cuts. If we didn't extend, you would have had about a 58% tax increase from that point. And we were able to get that extended. So I want to thank the Speaker of the House, and I want to thank John Thune. And a lot of people thought that bill, because we put everything into that one, we took 4 years' worth of things, and we put them into the great, big, beautiful bill. And we got it passed. It was close, like about a quarter of a vote. It was on fumes. We thought for a couple of moments we were not going to be able to get it. Then we would have had to have it in 9 or 12 or 14 different bills. And I don't think we would have gotten many of them approved. We would have gotten some easily approved, but some we would have gotten no votes on. By putting it all together, we got everything. And it was a great job, and I think someday it's going to be appreciated. But among other things, it's the biggest tax cut in history for people and for businesses. So just enjoy it, and think of me every once in a while when you're hiring new people and making a lot of money. You just think about us. But I'm cutting a record number of job-killing regulations. That's the other thing. And I've already slashed more than $1 trillion worth of regulations this year. My last term, I gave the largest regulation cut in history, and now we're doing it again. In fact, for every new regulation, they're mandated to cut 10. And so far, it's for every new regulation, they've cut 30. So they have the idea. And very importantly, we stopped Joe Biden's radical crusade to kill oil and natural gas. Somehow, I don't think Saudi Arabia would like me too much if we could decide to kill oil and natural gas. There's nothing like it. It works. Windmills don't work. Other things, I don't want to get into it too much, but they don't work. What does work is natural gas, oil, nuclear, and other things. But the windmills are a disaster. I am the biggest negative person on windmills. They ruin your locations. They ruin. When I look at some of these countrysides that are littered with windmills, and every time it goes around, you lose money. The country loses money. It's a disaster. And I just hope that some of these countries that are losing their ass, we have countries that are going bankrupt because they're putting windmills all over the place. You're supposed to make money with energy, not lose money with energy. And we talk about oil, and we talk even clean, beautiful coal. I said, you're not allowed to mention the word coal unless you precede it by saying clean, beautiful. So I have my people in the office, they're talking about coal, right? And they're going, sir, a clean, beautiful coal is doing very well, sir. And then 2 minutes later, clean, beautiful coal. Then he mentions the third time, sir, coal. No, it's clean and beautiful because it needs a public relations help. Coal needs a little help public relations-wise. So we refer to it as clean, beautiful coal, and it does have its place, that I can tell you. But we're streamlining permitting for all new energy projects, all new mining projects, and what used to take 28 days is now down to very little. But we had times when, not 28 days, we had times when things would take 14, 15, 16, and even 20 years to get approved. We have a maximum day, 28 days. That's the maximum it'll take. It'll never take more. You can come in with $1 trillion factory. You can come in with what it takes, a maximum of. You don't have to go years and years and years, be abused by bureaucracy. If you build a plant now, you're going to have your plant done within 28 days. And a lot of you are all, because I see everyone shaking their head, you're all agreeing. We're getting you approved by very smart people quickly. You know, when you used to walk in with plans done by the best engineers in the world, thousands of pages, and drop them on some guy who's been there for 28 years approving environmental impact statements, and he's looking at pages that he's never seen, and he's supposed to approve it. He has no idea what the hell is in those pages. So we know what we're doing. We're going to get maximum is 28 days. That's why we have so much under construction, and people can't believe it. They can't believe it. And again, remember what I said, most important thing, you're building your own electric plant. You're really becoming a utility in addition to doing what you're doing. But you're building all of the excess, all of that energy, all of that electricity is being built. And your excess electricity, you can sell back to the federal grid. So we even make it there. Under the deals being signed this week, the world's two leading energy superpowers, America and Saudi Arabia, are partnering on energy like we've never partnered before. American Saudi companies represented here today are joining on liquefied natural gas, infrastructure, constructions, and making both of our energy sections, our sectors are becoming so strong. Just a quick story. In Louisiana, when I first time I got there were two massive LNG plants. One was under review for 14 years and was being rejected. The other one was for 18 years. The people in Louisiana, Doug, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And one was $20 billion, one was $24 billion, like the biggest things, like 3 Empire State Buildings lying on its side. It was massive. And I said, whatever happened with those plants? Well, sir, they're under review. How long has it been? 14 years and 17 years. And they had given up. Massive investments were being made by other countries and the richest people. They couldn't get them approved. I got myself involved. Right, Doug? The first one, I got approved in 1 day. The second one, I got a little cocky. I took my time. It took me 1 week. And they're both operating today, and they're tremendously successful. I got one, think of it. After 14 years, I was in office. I got involved. I got it done in 1 day. And it's been a tremendous success and made a lot of money for our country and for a lot of other people. And the other one took 1 week to get done. That one was under review, I think, for 14 or 15 years, both of them. So I'm very proud of that, actually. I also proudly ended the ridiculous Biden-era restrictions on artificial intelligence, and we will work closely with friends and partners like those in this room to build the largest, most powerful, most innovative AI ecosystem in the world, and we are going to work it so that you'll have a one approval process, not have to go through 50 states in the United States. You know, you can't go through 50 states. You have to get one approval. 50 states is a disaster because you'll have one woke state and you'll have to do all woke. You'll be back into the woke business. We don't have woke anymore in this country. It's virtually illegal. But you'll have a couple of wokesters, and we don't want to do that. We want to get the AI done, and I'm working with David. David's done a fantastic job. If he's here, I think he is. He is. Thank you. David's done a fantastic job. But we want one approval, one, and hopefully you have the right guy in the federal government. Hopefully you have the right president, but you have one approval, one approving body, not 50, not, you know, hundreds of people all over the country looking at what you're doing. And basically you're forced to take the worst and the most onerous, right, Jensen? Are you happy with that, Jensen? Thank you. If Jensen's happy, I'm happy. But what's very important, we have to do that. And we have a couple of very good, very well-meaning senators that think every state should have a right to approve. We're not going to do that because that will not allow you to do what we have to do. And we'll get that straightened out. Together, the United States and Saudi Arabia are unleashing really the most incredible new prosperity together. And we're also making history and forging peace. And I've settled 8 raging conflicts, 8 wars. I've settled 8 wars. I have one to go. You know what that one is. I thought that was going to be my easy one because I have a good relationship with President Putin, but I'm a little disappointed in President Putin right now. He knows that. I thought that was going to be the easy one. I settled one war, 36 years. I got it done in one day. I had another one, 32 years, millions of people killed. Even Congo and the Rwanda, they had 10 million people killed. It was out of control. I got that settled. I have a man's father who happens to be in this room doing a great job, right? Got that settled. I settled 8 wars, and I'll tell you, His Majesty would like me to do something very powerful having to do with Sudan. It was not on my my charts to be involved in that. I thought it was just something that was crazy and out of control. But I just see how important that is to you and to a lot of your friends in the room. Sudan, and we're going to start working in Sudan. I didn't think that that was one that was going to be so easy to do, but we're going to start working. Mohammed said, yeah, thank you. Thank you to you. No, it wasn't on my charts because I'm good at settling disputes, and I've always been. I've done very well with that over the years, even before this. But you know, I was talking about the different wars, and it's look, India, Pakistan, they were going to go at it, nuclear weapons. I said that's okay, you can go at it, but I'm putting a 350% tariff on each country. No more trade with the United States. No, you can't do that. I said I'm going to do it. Come back to me and I'll take it down. But I'm not going to have you guys shooting nuclear weapons at each other, killing millions of people, and having the nuclear dust floating over Los Angeles. I'm not going to do it. They said, we don't like that. I said, I don't care if you like it or not. So I was all set. I told Scott, 350% tariff to settle that war. If you don't, we'll make a nice trade deal. They were in the midst of a deal. Now, no other president would have done that. Another guy would have, like Joe Biden, doesn't even know what countries we're talking about. He wouldn't have any idea. There'd be no tariffs, no nothing. Just the whole world would go to hell. But no, I used tariffs to settle all these wars. Not all of them. 5 of the 8 were settled because of the economy, because of trade, because of tariffs. So I did this. But, and then, I'll tell you what, the Prime Minister of Pakistan called me. Thank you very much. He actually said, I saved millions, and he said it in front of Susie. He said, President Trump saved millions and millions of lives. He doesn't even know that, but he saved millions of lives, and he talks about it. And I got a call from Prime Minister Modi saying, we're done. I said, you're done with what? We're not going to go to war. I said, thank you very much. Let's make a deal. But I saved a lot of people, millions of people, on many other wars. Azerbaijan, you know what was happening there? I settled that. That was going on for many, many years. Actually, Putin called me. He said, I can't believe you got that one settled. We've been trying to settle that one for a long time. I said, don't worry about that. Just let me settle your frickin' war, okay? You don't have to help me. I don't need any help. I need help with your war. And it'll get done. But working with the Crown Prince was amazing because he mentioned Sudan yesterday. And he said, sir, you're talking about a lot of wars, but there's a place on earth called Sudan. And it's horrible what's happening. And I viewed it as being just sort of a freelance, no government, no this, no that. And he explained the whole culture and the whole history. And it was very interesting to hear. Really amazing, actually, to hear. And you know, we've already started working on that, okay? He said that would be the greatest thing you can do. That would be greater than what you've already done. That was your expression. Is that a correct expression? Pretty good. So we're working on that. We started about 30 minutes after you explained to us the great importance of that. I view it differently now than I did just a day ago. But we also, as you know, we had a historic ceasefire. We ended the war in Gaza. And 2 days ago, incredibly, the United Nations Security Council backed the Trump peace plan, and we have a great peace plan. We have peace in the Middle East. This is a strong peace, too. They say, oh, it's tentative. It's not. This is a very strong peace. We have 59 countries signed on. And when there's problems, I'm getting calls from countries. They want to go in and lead the fight to solve the problem if we have any problems. But right now, it's looking very good and endorsed. They endorsed the United Nations, what's called the Board of Peace, chaired by a person called Donald J. Trump. I accepted the chairmanship. They asked me to be chairman. That's what I needed. It's just a little more work. But it's a great honor. That'll be the greatest board ever assembled. Where do you see this board? This board will blow every board away. And I believe we're going to be lucky enough to have the Crown Prince be a very distinguished member of the board. But we're going to have the heads of the Board of Peace. And I think it will go long beyond Gaza and the Middle East. I can see that going long beyond. There'll never be anything like this in terms of, I know you all have wonderful boards, but this is going to blow it away. It's going to blow them all away, and it's going to do some really good. So in the coming months, the Crown Prince and I are going to ensure that the ceasefire and everything else that's going on that's so positive in the Middle East, hard to believe. I mean, I've grown up, peace in the Middle East. I used to have peace in the Middle East, but never happened. We have peace in the Middle East. It's an amazing thing. Nobody thought, 3,000 years they talked. Nobody thought it would happen. In just 9 months, our administration has achieved more than most other administrations achieve in 8 years. And we're leading again in just every country. We want to win. We want to win for you. We want to win for ourselves. We want to help our allies. We want to change our enemies. We want to change our enemies. I'm being nice when I say it that way, but we want to change them. And if they don't change, we're going to be nasty. But hopefully we're not going to have to be nasty. But we want the world to prosper. We want the world to be safe. Our alliances are flourishing like they haven't before. And, you know, they're respecting America again. They didn't respect us. We were like a bunch of stupid people. We had a president that couldn't get up and talk, couldn't walk up a flight of stairs. We had people that didn't know what the hell they were doing. We were an embarrassment all over the world. But now we have people that are respected at levels that we've never seen before. So I just want to tell you that this is a group that I respect. I read every single name of every single person sitting in each and every seat. And I either know you or I know of you. This is an amazing group of people. And it really is headed by that gentleman sitting right smack center with 2 seats in between him. He wants plenty of room. And he's going to be the king of Saudi Arabia right now. He's the most distinguished gentleman. He's my friend. And thank you very much for what you've done for us, and we will always be with you. Thank you, Mohammed. I appreciate it. Thank you, everybody. Thank you very much. Thank you.